What's going on, everybody? It is good to be back. I am so happy to be with you. I know it has been a minute since I've last been live or last posted a video, but if you haven't noticed, the channel has not been completely inactive since I've been gone. We just hit 8,000 subscribers. I think when I posted my last video, I was at maybe 7,200 or so. So it's been like almost 800 subscribers that have subbed since I've had my little hiatus, or whatever you want to call it. And if you'll notice, there's been some other changes as well. I've been traveling a lot. A couple weeks ago, I very foolishly buzzed my hair off. I am just waiting for it to grow back. To be honest, I don't like it at all, but I'd had the same haircut for like over a decade, and I'd always thought about buzzing it off. And I thought, you know what? I'm in a foreign country. Nobody here knows me. Whenever I'm going to get to do this again. And as soon as I did it and looked at the mirror, I thought, oh, well, Grayson, you made a mistake. But it doesn't bother me too bad. It felt really nice. The weather here is a little hot. And yeah, I just cannot tell you guys how excited I am to be back. This is going to be a special stream of an AMA and Ask Me Anything. So any of your questions that you have, just go ahead and put them in the live chat, super chat them, whatever. I will try to answer all of the questions that I'm asked on stream today, and we're just going to see how this goes. I'm going to be also talking about some of the discoveries that I missed when I was gone in science, and maybe some of the headlines from the pseudoscience creationist space as well. And really, I'm so happy to be back chilling with you guys, seeing your comments in the chat, which I'm not really seeing a ton right now on StreamYard. There might be a little bit of a delay, but I wanted to say, hey, Space Faye, hey, Big Bad Mama, good to see you. Tyler West, it's awesome to see everybody back. Ohio Red Guy, really, I love all you guys that have stayed with the channel, that are expressing your love. Roy Zaven, I mean, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for the 8K. Yeah, thank you, Albert. You guys, and again, I will answer all of your questions. Anything that you want to know could be about, things during the hiatus, things before, my thoughts on this or that, whatever you guys want. Yeah, I just wanted to make a cool, chill stream. I'm really not sure how this is going to go, given the Wi-Fi. And if you haven't noticed, I'm not in my normal location. I am not in the US right now. And the Wi-Fi in the country is a little bit dodgy. So I wasn't quite sure how a live stream would go, but we're going to try it out, see how it is. I hope that there's not too much of a lag, and that it's overall just, viewable experience for you guys. So yeah, thank you, Street Doc. My battles with Hovind. Yeah, I have not been keeping up with Kent Hovind either. I hear that he's still out there making videos. I'm pretty glad to not be keeping up with that dude. It seems like he's sort of, much past his prime, but the debates were fun. I don't think that Kent even remembers a single word of them. If he saw me, I doubt that he would even recognize me. Okay, great. That's great news, that the Wi-Fi seems good. Seems like there's no lag. I mean, sometimes it's tough to even load a YouTube video to watch here. So that's actually surprising in the best way possible. Good to see you too, Rost Man, for show. Yeah, it's good to see everybody here. Again, let me know if you have any questions, like, where I'm at. Maybe you guys could guess if there's like maybe I won't answer that directly. Maybe you guys have to ask me sort of more tangential questions, and we'll see if you can guess what country I'm in. Like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Thank you. Good to see you, Time Traveler. It is good to be back, honestly. There is a lot that I've missed. So if there's no questions right now, I kind of want to talk about some of the things that I missed in the science department, just overall scientific discoveries from 2025 up through March 2026 that I really wanted to talk about on the channel, but haven't gotten a chance yet. There's been a lot of developments, particularly in the field of origin of life. It feels like we've had more breakthroughs in abiogenesis than we've had in like the last 5 years before this. It's been really awesome in the field of origin of life. Time Traveler had the first question here about what have I been doing? Very good, very valid question. So mainly I've been traveling. It's kind of been, a lifelong dream of mine to travel, get out of the US for a bit. It seemed like a pretty good time to get out of the US. Right now, with the world going kind of crazy and gas prices as they are, I've been in the same country here for the last couple months, just really enjoying better weather than I was having in Texas, better views, cheaper prices. It's been really great. And yeah, I've just been exploring, traveling, reading a lot. I'm a very avid reader, and I've been knocking out a lot of my reading list. So it's been good. But right now, I'll talk about maybe the three biggest headlines from Abiogenesis that came out this last year. Let me see if I can share my screen here. It's been a minute since I've used StreamYard. Uh-oh, that's not what I want to do. So I'll go ahead and share the first paper here that I found pretty exciting here. Is this multiple step? This is a 6-step synthesis here of prebiotically relevant synthesis for RNA from very, very simple building blocks. And the reason why this paper caught my eye, well, first of all, it's from the lab of Steve Benner, who is just a legend in the field of abiogenesis. He has some of the biggest discoveries in the field of the last 20 years, multiple of them, in fact. And this particularly excited me because this is a direct contradiction of something that James Tour was criticizing of saying was impossible, basically. The formation of RNA, multiple nucleobases of RNA with a prebiotically relevant reaction mechanism free of any human intervention in environments that are relevant to the Hadean period Earth, that specifically involve the 3' to 5' attachments that's characteristic in RNA. James Tour really criticized a lot of abiotic formation of RNA by saying, oh yeah, you would never get it to form in the right configuration, with the right carbons linking together. Well, here they did it in a way that's abiogenically relevant, in a way that involved no human intervention. And I even recall James Tour specifically talking about borate or boric acid and saying well, this is never going to be able to catalyze it. This is going to interfere with the process. And specifically, they found the exact opposite in their study. So here you can see that it's predominantly with the 3' to 5' linkages, at least 6 nucleotides long, possibly much longer. It basically, let's see if I can find here where they mentioned borate, because what they found, here we go, is that initially, echoing some of James Tour's criticisms and concerns about this chemistry, saying that, this borate is just going to inhibit the reaction, but their experiments actually showed the opposite. Rather than inhibit the other steps, it actually facilitates and catalyzes the reaction. So this is one of the most exciting abiogenic syntheses of RNA that I think I've pretty much seen ever. Let me see when this study came out. I believe it was December, right? Yeah, December 15th, 2025. So it is quite a recent study, just sort of a big middle finger to the kind of nonsense that James Tour has been trying to push. Despite him, science has continued to go on and continue to make discoveries like this, where, now this is a prebiotically plausible way that RNA could form, not just, one little base of RNA, but actually the whole linkage together into a chain of RNA from molecules that are starting out like literally from simple precursors between 1 and 3 carbons with 0 to 2 nitrogens. So it's not like they're starting out with like, one base and they're linking together the different bases. No, they're starting with extremely rudimentary starting materials. And without any human intervention, they are forming chains of RNA in ways that are prebiotic, relevant to Haitian natural history. They go through here in their study. Basically, it's a lot of complex organic chemistry. I mean, we're not going to get through all of this. I'm not going to go through it, but you can see that each of the steps involves things that we know happened in the Haitian period Earth, from volcanoes to the redox content of the atmosphere, to the presence of more redox neutral basalt and in the mantle. I mean, there is the chemistry here is just really cool, really impressive. Steve Benner's lab does great work. So that is the very first discovery from the time that I was gone that I wanted to discuss on the channel that I didn't get an opportunity to. As like I said, for those of you maybe joining a little bit late, I've been kind of traveling. Wi-Fi hasn't been the best, but I've been kind of settled in the same spot here for over a month now. So I thought with the 8,000 subscriber benchmark that you guys helped get the channel past, I figured this was a perfect time to mention some of these discoveries that I missed from the last year, and just talk about them on the channel and shine the spotlight on some really cool science. So that was the first one. There's going to be 3 overall discoveries relevant to abiogenesis that I want to talk about, as well as some others from some different areas of science. And then after we go through maybe some of the big science news and I answer some of your questions, if there's still time and the Wi-Fi is still good, there's a video from the Institute of Creation Research that I thought maybe we could go over, where they talk about their own big new discoveries that so-called are counting for evidence for the young Earth creationist worldview that we could just do a quick debunking of for fun. But before we get there, we've got some amazing questions and super chats that I want to get to. So let's just go in order here. Tyler West asks, am I in Latin America? That question is yes. So that narrows it down by a lot. So for those of you playing, we're sort of guessing what country in the world that I'm in. So now you know somewhere in Latin America, but can you guess better than that? Maybe some follow-up questions, or just start guessing countries and I will confirm or deny. We got a super chat from Saturni IK saying, welcome back, bro. It's good to be back. I'm feeling the love from everybody. I mean, it's just the fact that I had this hiatus and I didn't post on the channel for like what felt like forever. And the subscribers continue to grow almost by like 800 something subscribers, to the point that we got to 8,000 is just, I mean, it's just incredible. I cannot express my gratitude enough for everybody here. I was kind of worried that nobody would show up because it'd been so long. Maybe y'all forgot about me. I even saw some speculation that I had converted and was Christian now. No, that was not ever true. I don't know who was trying to spread that rumor, but that is kind of insane. I mean, if I had such a conversion, you would probably know about it. I would have to explain about how I was wrong about all this stuff before, or I would explain what convinced me, if whatever. Maybe I had like a Blaise Pascal moment of just like a very traumatic experience late at night or something, where I experienced a very powerful vision or something. I don't know what it would take to convince me that the Christian God is real at this point, given everything that we've talked about on the channel before. We've got the J Pump saying welcome back, and they had a super chat here. Thank you, J Pump, saying welcome back. Thrilled to see you on my feed again. I mean, hey, I'm just glad that the YouTube algorithm is popping up in people's feeds. I mean, I was kind of thinking that maybe I would just be spurned by the algorithm and it would just bury my videos. So it's great confirmation to know that at least like it's popping up in some people's algorithms. That's great. Wow, and we've got Yahooligan here, Justin with the Grayson tax. This is an inside joke. I'm so excited to see Justin here. Justin is great. He's been on the channel before. He's just a stellar dude, and yeah, he's coming in with his $2 Canadian for that Grayson tax. That has to be on every live stream that I'm on. I mean, that's just so seeing some of the diehards out there, the day ones. You guys are making my whole day over here. I can't get the smile off my face. Dylan Johnson saying, hey, it's good to see you. I mean, it's good to see you guys, honestly. I wasn't sure if anybody would even show up, so pretty incredible. We got Scribble Scrabble 99. Happy No Kings Day, everyone. That's right. No kings, no billionaires, no wars. I'm not in the US right now. Otherwise, I would be out there with everybody else. I've been seeing, in the group chats, people are talking about their experiences right now and all of the, MAGA dorks that are showing up to shout, racist or transphobic, homophobic obscenities at people. Just, keep fighting the good fight. I mean, we're living through some really like a high watermark for like these radical death cultists that are these like evangelical, biblical, literalist, jingoistic Christian nationals. I really think that this is, and I really hope that this is the high watermark for this movement for at least the rest of my life, if not the rest of human history. Seriously, if it's not, I'm going to be very, I don't know. I don't even want to think about that. I feel like it probably is the high watermark, but we'll see. I mean, the popularity for this movement, I feel like, is declining every day, but still, I mean, creationism went from sort of a funny haha joke that we can all laugh at and not take seriously to like, all of a sudden these people are in the halls of power making decisions with nuclear weapons at their arsenal. I mean, there have been 200 complaints among soldiers in the US military talking about how their commanding officers have been discussing the invasion and bombing of Iran in biblical terms of like, this is prophesied in the Bible to bring about the second coming of Jesus. I mean, it's scary when the creationists and evangelicals get into power and what they do and what they wrought upon the world. So I didn't mean to be like going there, but it's hard not to right now with these things going on. Question, am I in Brazil or Peru? No, I am not. You got to go a little bit farther north than that. We got an amen. I'm not sure what I said to get the amen there, but sure. Wishful thinking. Whew, yeah, hopefully not. My guess is that I met a girl. Actually, you know what's really strange here is that not just the women, but like the men and women, all of the travelers that I met here, they're not like they are. Let me just put it this way. Every time I like meet somebody, I talk to somebody here, within like the first 2 sentences, they're talking to me about their past lives or about astral projection or like their chakras, or they're doing some sort of womb activation yoga. I mean, it is, I prefer like the hippie spiritual type people to the Christian nationalists for sure, but I pretty much don't want to associate much with either of them, and neither of them really hold my interest on that level of like wanting to be in a friendship or relationship with. So I haven't really met anyone out here that has a sort of materialist, physicalist, secular view about things. I mean, I'd say that the town that I've been in, I mean, it has an absolute beautiful view of the lake here. I mean, it is an incredible view. But I mean, there's a metaphysics class just maybe like less than 500 feet from my house that they held every Saturday. And this metaphysics class, it ain't metaphysics. It's like talking about the most, pyramid activation of your third eye type metaphysics that you've ever heard. I mean, there's at least like 4.5 yoga classes per capita in this town, it seems. I don't know where all of these hippie spiritual people come from, but they've all seemed to flock here. I don't know if this place is supposed to be some sort of spiritual energy vortex or whatever these people believe, but they are thick as flies here. So I don't know if that really helps you guess what country I'm in, but it is certainly something that I did not expect to find here. Let's see, the dinosaur adventure trip converted you. Yeah, that would be crazy. If literally anyone from any walk of life has converted to Christianity or like creationism after going to Dinosaur Adventureland, I would want to meet that person. Like somebody that was not a believer before, but became convinced because of Dinosaur Adventureland. I just have like a morbid curiosity about that person. Like who would that even be? I would be surprised if there was even one from any walk of life. Let's see, another question. Are you planning to get back into science communication and or debating? I would love to, honestly. I've had lots of videos that I've begun scripting, or even some finished scripts that are mostly about science communication topics. Like the one that is sort of my pet project that I've been really excited about is sort of like a renewed, 2026 updated edition of Carl Sagan's very famous sequence, showing the evolution of mankind, through all of the various forms. And I just, I've always wanted to see an updated version. That version came out in the 70s. And although the broad strokes are still correct, we've discovered so many new things since then that I just feel like, it'd be really great to have an updated version. I mean, we have discovered new things just in the last year about transitional fossils in that sequence. Mylocommingians, the little very early basal Cambrian chordates, potentially had 4 eyes. I mean, that's one of the coolest. I mean, I never would have expected that, but literally, and again, I don't want to give any credit to the hippies on this one, but the whole third eye people, the pineal gland. I mean, it turns out that could have actually come from very, very basal chordates having more than 2 eyes, not 3 eyes, not a third eye, but 4, and the whole architecture of the pineal gland system in the brain could be some sort of vestigial remnant from that original having 4 eyes. And it's just I mean, they were already cute. For those of you that don't know, maybe Google haiku-ichthyes or Mylocommingia and just see how cute these little guys are before, and now knowing that they have 4 eyes and just look so much cooler and more alien. I mean, there's a lot of things to update along the pathway of human evolution that I just can't wait to dive into. I mean, I was going to talk about this later with the scientific discoveries, but it's kind of relevant now. That we have just recently discovered the most complete skeleton of Homo habilis ever found, and it's even more of an example of a transitional fossil than we even thought. I mean, it's got an increasingly modern type skull, especially when compared with Australopiths, but it's got the body that's very similar to Australopithecus. It's got those long arms. It's got a hip bone that is literally intermediate between the hip bones of Homo erectus and the hip bones of Australopithecus. It's just so many of these little features are intermediary transitional anatomy that it's just awesome seeing another confirmed prediction of evolution just in real time. I mean, we've known about Homo habilis for more than half a century, I think since the 60s or 70s. And we've always had just such scant fossil material that I literally remember, I think in 2024 or something, I was just thinking about how I really hope that at some time during my own lifetime that we would get a more complete skeleton for Homo habilis. And just the fact that it happened like the next year, like just last year, just like late into last year, just a few months ago, like this Homo habilis skeleton dropped, and it was just one of the coolest updates. I mean, overall, I gotta say, in the sort of subfield of human and primate evolution, it really feels like we're living through like a golden age, where it seems like the amount of discoveries that have come out in the last 5 years in regards to human evolution and primate evolution just seem like just more discoveries in the last 5 years than in like the last 25 years or something. It is just an incredible time for that field. Like I don't know how Erica from Guts of Gibbon even keeps up with all of the new discoveries that are coming out. I mean, she's a specialist in Miocene apes, and it's just like every other week almost, it seems like there's a new Miocene ape discovery being made. We in addition to the new Homo habilis skeleton that just dropped, we've now confirmed, it seems, that the Denisovans, we've matched their skeletal remains now. We just mainly knew about Denisovans from their DNA and from some of their remains with like protein in jaw bones and things like that. But it turns out a bunch of these skeletons and skulls that were dubbed Homo longi or longi, I'm not sure which one it is, turns out those are Denisovans. That was another huge discovery. I mean, we've had like back-to-back discoveries within human evolution just in the last several months. It's been like, what a time. Just what a time. It really feels like we are currently in the throes of a golden era in that subfield. Let's see. I thought the Holy Ghost got your soul. I don't even know what that would mean, but no, I'm not speaking in tongues. I'm not. I haven't been entered by any Holy Ghost. I have not been impregnated either by them. I've been watching Erica and Will Duffy's series. Yeah, it's absolutely one of my favorite ongoing series on YouTube right now. I'm like watching it every single month. And it's just been like an amazing series to keep up with. I've seen like just how much work goes into preparing for those. And Erica's been killing it, honestly. I'm really, I was sort of doubtful at first about, where is Will going to fall into this? Because, a lot of the pushback that he's been giving are like, just the same old creationist talking points that we've heard so many times. But, after the episode about the age of the earth, it really seemed like Will was coming at this sort of more like from a genuine spot than a lot of other creationists seem, where he's actually seems like he's honestly considering the evidence. It seems like he's spending time thinking about this stuff, and he's really like open to learning about it. And that's been really cool to see. And Will and I like know each other. We were going to do a trip to the Ark Encounter, sort of like a final experiment with creationists and evolution, and that for various scheduling conflicts kind of didn't end up happening last summer. But yeah, I know Will. I saw that he shouted me out on the last episode where he sort of had like a diagram about well, here's some good atheist evolutionists and here's some good creationists. And, he included me as like one of the 3 atheistic evolutionists that he likes or respects or admires or something, or has a good relationship with. And that was awesome to see, especially because I was in such good company together with, I think, Erica and Aaron Ra in those 3. And so seeing me just there amongst those 3, I was like, wow, I really feel like I've made it at this point. So that was really cool, really motivating, made me excited to make more videos in the space with science communication. And I've been like, even when I was gone, I never actually planned on doing a hiatus. I don't know if I mentioned that, but this was never part of the plan. Like it literally just started from me having technical issues, which I still haven't solved, by the way. I don't know. Tell me if my audio is cracking still and like making that popping noise, because I tried so many things to try to fix that and nothing was working. And it doesn't seem like it does it like regularly if I'm just on like a live stream or something. But anytime I use like pretty much anytime that I use like video recording software. So not if I'm just live streaming, not on StreamYard, but I get this terrible audio, which was the whole initial reason I stopped making videos, was just to fix this stupid audio issue. And I was literally, I could not figure out how to fix it. And then like my dad passed away and I had to go home and like deal with that stuff. And so that kind of extended it through like from just like a couple weeks to like, you know, I was having to, you know, I'm an only child. So I had to deal with a lot of like what to do with all his stuff. And he didn't leave like a will. So it was really like a nightmare scenario to go through like probate and figure out where I'm going to put all this stuff. Because he was kind of a hoarder a little bit. So there was a lot of stuff to deal with. And then after that, I was just like, man, I gotta like travel a little bit. And so then I've been traveling a lot since then, and sort of just been too much of like sort of nomadic to like, you know, I didn't pack a green screen with me, obviously. I don't have my good microphone. I'm just using my laptop microphone right now. So I think that the audio should be fine with this current setup. It's just whenever I try to get fancy with it, or whenever I try to record a video and not just do a live stream, I get these audio issues that I'm still freaking trying to solve. But like I said, I never planned on making this big hiatus. It's just sort of like started from technical issues and then life just sort of happened. Let's see. Next question is, ¿hablas español? No, that actually has been an issue. Well, okay, it hasn't been an issue. Like I've been getting by with like the little apps here, just doing translation with apps, but I wish I spoke Spanish. I kind of find like I have like more of an aptitude for remembering information like facts and things, or, you know, science, history, you know, literature. Those are kind of like my wheelhouse of science, of like topics that I really enjoy learning, and feels like it just gels well with my brain to remember those. Probably because I'm passionate about them. But with languages, you know, in middle school, they taught us some Spanish. I remember none of it. I wish I did right now. Again, if for those of you still playing, I am somewhere in Latin America. We have figured that part out, but I haven't said which specific country yet. And then in high school, I took French, which I thought I would like because like I have like French Canadian ancestry and stuff. Like my great grandmother, she only spoke French, not English. But no, I didn't really like French either. It kind of sounded like Spanish underwater, you know. And it just, you know, I remember none of that either. If you try to talk to me in French, my eyes would probably glaze over. And then in college, my last attempt, I took a year and a half of Japanese because, you know, I like manga and anime, and I figured, you know, it'd be fun to learn. And that was the most fun language that I learned, because it really felt like learning a different language. Like every time I translated a sentence, it felt like deciphering the Rosetta Stone. Unlike, you know, Spanish or French just kind of seemed like just jumbled around English or something. This one really felt like I was like deciphering like ancient hieroglyphics or something, like reading these Japanese sentences. But again, I mean, that was in college. I remember nothing now. I just, you know, maybe just because I'm not practicing it, but it just, you know, a lot of the other subjects come a lot easier to me than languages. It just, I don't know if maybe it's just because I didn't learn another language when I was very young and more imprintable. But yeah, learning other languages is like pulling teeth to my brain. Dr. Dino, good to see you, Doc. He's saying, hey, you nerd. hey, back, you nerd. Yeah, Doc is awesome. For those of you that didn't see the video that I made with Doc and myself, was that almost 2 summers ago? That's crazy to me. But we went to Wyoming. We did some fossil hunting. We found some dinosaur fossils. Like the time of my life, I would love to go back and do that stuff again. That's like one of my peak, you know, memory experiences that I will be looking back on as an old man, like completely just, it's so cool that we got to do that. Next is they always say the most scared monkey screams the loudest. I'm trying to think about what that could be in reference to. Is this maybe talking about that I'm making videos debunking creationism, or just because I'm scared that maybe it's the truth, and that's why I'm screaming the loudest on YouTube? I mean, that's like a fun little, phrase to throw out, but I don't. There's nothing scary about, like, honestly, if like creationism were actually true, that would probably simplify life a lot. You'd just be like, oh wow, well now I got the whole roadmap ahead of me. I got all the answers. Everything's sort of, a bunch of the things that I worry, like I don't worry about, but the things that, like, my favorite problems to think about that I would love to see solved in my lifetime are, like, about the origins of life with abiogenesis, the origins of the universe, the origins of space and time. And, if creationism were true, all that would be answered. So I'm not really scared about it. I mean, that'd be a lot easier. I mean, it's a lot more comforting than just having to, be stuck with a lot of unanswered questions. But, if we're being intellectually honest, sometimes you just have to say, we don't know the answers to some of these questions yet, but we're going to try to find them. And we've got a super chat here from Satorni IK. Bro, do you have some debates scheduled? Love to see you destroying some low IQ guy. Okay. So what has been one of the strangest parts about this whole hiatus, right, is I have tried, like, it's not like I haven't tried to, like, have these debates. Like, I've been in their comments calling people out. Like, I'll see a smaller channel that seems like they're responding to other people. They're making terrible points and arguments. I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's talk about it. Let's have this debate. And I either get nothing in the responses, or they say, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, cool, email me. Then radio silence. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe just I have tried at least 5 times to find people to debate. And, on my channel, it says, if you want to debate, email me here. I feel like it's pretty easy to get in touch with me. And the entire time that I've been gone, not a single challenge, not a single creationist reaching out, trying to debate with me. No one's tried. So, I mean, I know that I have to have more initiative to find these people, but from what I'm hearing, it's pretty common in the space in general right now that the creationists are running scared, that they're not coming out and, like, with as much bravado as they had before and challenging evolution, or challenging the Big Bang, or challenging atheism, or doing any of their normal shticks. I don't know where they've been. It's like they have more power than ever before. They have more political relevance than they have since the 1800s, probably. And yet, all of a sudden, they're exiting the space, or they're being real quiet about calling people out. I don't know how some of these people, like Justin from Deconstruction Zone, who, like, I'm a big fan of, or Ian, who's come up recently, or Dr. Blitz. I really don't know how they find all of these creationists willing to engage with them. I'm continually impressed by their ability to find these crazies, because I don't know what rocks they're turning over, but I gotta do more work to find them. But yes, I miss debating these people too. I mean, it's just as entertaining for me as it is for you. And thank you for your super chat, by the way. Let's see. Wait, you must be in Ecuador. Oh, you're getting closer, but not. Or the Galapagos is a little bit farther. I am not on an island. I am on the mainland. I will say this. I'll give you one more clue. I am not in South America. So, nope, I am not in Lake Titicaca either. That would be hilarious, though. And I've always wanted to go there. One of the most, archaeologically relevant, as being like one of the sacred areas of like, basically it was like the Vatican or Mecca for the Tiwatanihu culture before the Incas. I've always wanted to see some of the archaeological ruins there. I will give you another hint, though. The country that I'm in also has some really incredible archaeological ruins that I haven't even gotten to go to yet, but it's very, very high on my list to go. So we got another super chat here from Jimmy Carter's Peanut Farm. Great name. I was just watching an old Gutsip Gibbon video where she mentioned you. I was like, oh, I wonder where he's been. Look at my feed and saw you were alive. Look at that. The algorithm provides. I'm curious, Jimmy Carter's Peanut Farm, which Gutsip Gibbon video was this? I know I actually met Erica in person once at a wedding. That was pretty cool. And I've Erica and I know each other, but I'm not sure which video that would be referring to. We've done like The Line together before, where we've co-hosted The Line and taken these creationist callers. And again, I don't know where The Line finds these people either. I mean, The Line doesn't even seem like they're just like they're looking for them. All these creationists just like show up to The Line. I guess my channel has to become more well-known before that happens or something. I don't know, because it seems like the creationists just sort of like try their best to ignore me, or they're ducking the challenge, basically. I don't know where they go. Let's see. We've got, do the chickens have large talons? Good to see you too, TechRatube. This guy, he is a staple of the live streams. Even when I'm not doing and Ask Me Anything, he's always asking this same question. And I don't even know what answer that he wants. I don't know if it's a yes or no. What is this? Bong rip physics class. I don't know what. Oh, that he's probably referring to the metaphysics class that I was talking about. Sorry, I'm getting backed up on these comments here. But yeah, it's worse than a bong rip physics class. The metaphysics class here that goes on at like the pyramid sanctuary where these hippies congregate. I haven't attended it because like it costs money and I really don't want to pay money to these people that I was getting major culty vibes. But I looked at their little brochure about what is their little syllabus for their metaphysics course. And that was good for a good laugh. Let's see. Wait, it has to be Costa Rica. You're getting even closer, but it is not Costa Rica. But this is the closest guess we've had so far. Modern Atheism. Hello, buddy. Good to see you too. This guy, his channel has been getting better and better and better. Especially since I've been gone, he's been putting out some really quality videos. I watched his video about the tag argument, which is another topic that I eventually would like to make a video about. And I'd love to debate Jay Dyer too. He's sort of the tag golden child. For those of you that don't know, tag is the transcendental argument for God, which is basically like, hey, if there's logic in the universe and the universe is intelligible to us, then that is proof that God has to exist via the impossibility of the contrary. It's the most, one of the most ridiculous arguments, like one of the most nonsensical arguments, but it has become increasingly popular. It kind of feels like we're getting less and less creationists and more of these presuppositionalists running the tag argument. It's like kind of like a plague of these. I think other YouTubers have called them Phil Bros. I don't love that term, but that does seem to be the term that people use, and there has been a plague of Phil Bros. Let's just say, the amount of times that I hear this stupid tag argument, I mean, I need to make a video about it, just to the definitive. Like every time I hear a tag argument, here's my video on it. Watch that so you can know my thoughts, because I hear it probably more often than I'm hearing any other argument for God these days. It seems like there's a lot of Jay Dyer clones out there. I'm going to have to make a video tackling him too. We got Pragmatic Crystal here. It's so good to see PC. Pragmatic Crystal is best mod ever. Such a cool person. Just everybody give PC some love there. Good to see them. Oreo723 says, hi, do you have any thoughts on magnesium carbon dioxide batteries? You know, I don't actually. But after this stream, I am definitely going to be looking that up. I know, battery technology is one of the coolest frontiers of technological development that is has the potential to advance our species the most. I mean, new battery technology is going to be really revolutionary. So I don't actually know anything about magnesium carbon dioxide batteries, but it sounds really interesting. I'm going to have to look that up afterwards. We've got some plugs here. Like I said, PC, best mod ever. Got Will Duffy, seems like a good guy. I think he does. Yeah, from everything that I know about Will, from the exchanges that I've had with him. And I've had some email exchanges with Will that were kind of frustrating. But I think, maybe it's just hard, a hard format to have a sort of debate about some of these. We were talking about dinosaur soft tissues, which is another big thing that I keep seeing creationists bring up. There's been a couple trends in the creationist, at the creation sphere. And in the last year, they've been really big fans of bringing up soft tissues and dinosaur fossils. And then the resurgence of this whole, genetic similarity between humans and chimps and this whole thing. And we'll talk about that later when I sort of get to that. We're still going through the questions here. Deleterious Laplace Demon said, Grayson, where should I start reading Origin of Life scientific literature? Where should you start? I'm not really sure of a good introduction to the topic. I mean, whenever, even in the textbook where I learned from in my courses during my degree, the abiogenesis was really not summarized very well. And there's really not a good literature review that I know of that I could really point you to right now. That's actually a really hard question. I'd have to think about that more because, there's a book that I recently was reading. I'm blanking on the name and author right now, unfortunately. But it was self-published, so I wasn't sure, but the bibliography seemed quite extensive. And that was a pretty good summation of abiogenesis. Maybe I know the guy's last name was something Rama. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer for you, but there really isn't a very good introduction to the topic of abiogenesis that I can easily point to. So much of the field is scattered throughout individual papers or literature reviews on individual topics and not just the total topic of abiogenesis, because it's such an interdisciplinary field that it takes a person with a broad span of knowledge or a team of scientists to really write a good overview of all of the different topics. So we got a second question from Deleterious Laplace Demon. Did the Stephen C. Meyer combinatorial argument get debunked by AlphaFold? I mean, the Stephen C. Meyer combinatorial argument is just debunked easily based on the fact that in order to make a claim about probability for something happening, you need a mechanism, right? You can't just look at the final product and calculate what are the probability of this product coming into existence independent of a mechanism. In order to calculate what the probability of something happening is, you need to know what mechanism is being proposed in order to calculate such probability. So you can't just look at the final product. So just in the way that probability works, on its face of it, Stephen Meyer's combinatorial argument is just easily debunked because he's not even using probabilities correctly, because he's trying to say, oh, well, what's the probability? Basically, in order to do his argument, you have to assume a mechanism. So he tacitly is assuming that this mechanism to form these proteins is basically you're getting one protein, one amino acid added at a time to get this sequence, and then it's going to fold into the final protein. That's not how proteins are formed. That's not how they're proposed to have initially formed in abiogenesis either. Like where you just all of a sudden get like basically a complete enzyme from just a bunch of individual amino acids. So that's sort of like, and he's never going to say outright that that's the mechanism that his math is assuming, but he's just going to rely on the ignorance of his audience to not know that that is the mechanism that he's assuming. So he has to assume an incredibly imbecilic mechanism that nobody is proposing for abiogenesis in order to then create this straw man that he can easily say, oh, the probability is 1 in 100 trillion. Yeah, it's just nonsense. It's just not even understanding how probability works. Justin said that audio sounds fine, assuming you are using the built-in mic. Yeah, so I did not come to this country prepared to do videos. I didn't bring like a green screen or a good lighting setup or a microphone. So I'm just using my basic laptop settings, but I think it's sufficient. I think I haven't been seeing many people saying I have had issues. Deleterious Laplace Demon said, have you seen Stephen Meyer or Hawking Hurdle? He's saying it do use Wheeler-DeWitt equation, then why it's still in oath integral, why not canonical quantization? Meyer don't know the basics. I haven't seen specifically Stephen Meyer's take on the Hartle-Hawking model, but the Hartle-Hawking model is really, really fascinating as a sort of boundary-less transition from different modes of time, like different phases of space-time in the universe. So it's like a way of talking about like what came before the Big Bang in a way that I find like really creative and compelling and really interesting to think about, where sort of the way that time is changes at this sort of like, it's not like a sharp boundary of like, here's before and here's after the Big Bang. And it's not really clear like what before would even mean, but it's sort of like this transition, like a smooth transition where before you have like this sort of like linear time that we're familiar with as the development of the universe, sort of before this 13.8 billion years, the way that time behaves is much more like space, where it's navigable and it goes in a sort of perpendicular direction to the flow of normal time. So it's sort of like time along this imaginary axis. And again, like when you're adding sort of these different dimensions, they go like perpendicular to the prior ones. And so when they're talking about imaginary time, they're not talking about like, oh, it's imaginary as in like it's fantasy and doesn't exist. They're talking about imaginary in terms of complex numbers. You know, so the name imaginary, like I is really a horrible name, to be honest. Like it's catchy, people remember it, but it doesn't really describe what it is very well. But it is like a different number axis to the normal number axis that runs perpendicular to it along the complex plane. And so this is what's being proposed in the Hartle-Hawking model for how the behavior of time itself changes prior to the Big Bang. And again, before, there's not really a good word in our normal everyday language to describe the sort of this transition, but it's such a fascinating thing to think about. I would really like to delve deeper into some of the math behind the Hawking. I don't know why I can't say that. Hawking-Hartle model. Okay, and here we've got a guess over here. This is correct. So Dylan Johnson, I don't know what you win, but you are the winner. I am in Guatemala on Lake Atitlan in particular. It's a highland lake. It's just one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. The view of the volcano and the lake is like the coolest thing to get to wake up to. You know, open your eyes in bed and then you just get to see this incredibly beautiful landscape. I mean, waking up to a volcano and a beautiful blue water lake, it doesn't get much better. So yes, I am in Guatemala. I'm absolutely loving it here. Congratulations to Dylan Johnson for guessing it right. Yeah, Venezuela, are you Trump's many on the inside? No, I am not a spy in Venezuela for the Trump administration. I would never work for the Trump administration in any kind of capacity ever. Hey, Figure09, good to see you. You know Stargate, bro? Yeah, I don't know it super well. I've seen the movie. I really like the movie. It's not like, you know, my favorite movie ever, but I really love those sort of kind of campier movies like late 90s, early 2000s, sci-fi type movies. And Stargate, I have a weakness for the sort of the trope like in the movie Atlantis or in Stargate of, the nerdy bumbling professor that, has this like theory or whatever, and then it's brought into this big, big project where they get to use their expertise. And like, I have a weakness for that trope. I don't remember the name of the actor from Stargate, but I love that guy in that role. I mean, I just love the beginning of that movie. I don't know how many times I've rewatched just the beginning of that movie. And I love this sort of ancient civilization, ancient Egyptian, but like ancient aliens kind of aesthetic. Like I even have like, I've got a bunch of like ideas for novels and things. And one of them is sort of like a, kind of like a Game of Thrones, but in like an ancient aliens type version with like the Bronze Age, Middle Eastern, like Fertile Crescent type civilization, but with ancient aliens. I mean, I love that entire aesthetic and vibe. So we got a lot of people asking questions, but Dylan Johnson, he already solved it. I guess I am close to the ocean. Guatemala is kind of close to both oceans. I'm closer to the Pacific, but I'm also pretty dang close to the Atlantic. Right in that little mix there. Where does optimism come from? I think that there is actually like a certain amount of genetic predisposition to being an optimist. My blood type, fun fact, is B positive, which I always make the joke is like a constant reminder to be positive. But yeah, I don't know. It just comes from my brain. I don't know where optimism comes from generally. Referring to angry MAGA. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's see. Other way around. Okay. Yeah. So I confused the comment like several comments back. I'm getting really behind on the comments, guys. I don't know. I want to get to these other discoveries that I kind of teased about earlier, but I also want to get through all the questions too. If creationism is true, then it's really weird. All the evidence points the other way. Yeah, like exactly. It literally says in the Bible. I don't remember exact, chapter and verse. I'm not Justin from Deconstruction Zone, but it does say that God is not the God of lies and he's not the God of deception and stuff. But it seems very deceptive, if creationism is true, that who's planting all of these fossils in an order that can't be explained by anything other than evolution. Who's making all this distant starlight, making it look like the light has traveled for billions of years? I don't know. It seems like if God's not doing it, there's some sort of deceiver out there. Maybe Satan's more powerful than the Christians give him credit for creating our universe. Maybe Gnosticism is true, and we've got the demiurge out there. Who knows? But I have a sneaking suspicion that none of this supernatural stuff is true. Let's go to the next question from Time Traveler. Very late here. Gotta go. Look forward to new videos. Thanks for joining, Time Traveler. Honestly, I'm so grateful for everybody that stopped by here. You guys are all incredible. We've got another guest for Costa Rica. We've got a guest for Panama. Nope, Guatemala. We've got the J Pump saying you got to be more combative. I feel like I'm a pretty argumentative person, honestly. I mean, I'm not as combative as like a Matt Dillahunty or stuff. I mean, I'm still, I think I come across as friendly, but like I'm not gonna let people get away with saying things that are just blatantly wrong. I am going to push back. So I think I'm firm, but I don't think I'm like a dick about it. So I don't know. I don't like feeling like I'm like being too, snarky or aggressive or mean spirited. I don't know. just not who I am. Like I'm definitely like, I'm not like a pushover. I'm going to voice criticism. I'm going to voice pushback, but I think I do it in my own way. So I don't know, but I guess it's just, it scares off the creationists, or they only want to engage with people that like they think are too combative. I don't know. I don't really get the psychology behind why they're ducking me. El Torcal de Ataquera. Well, I don't know if that's a location or just a general statement. It kind of sounds like a location, but like we already established earlier, I'm horrible with languages and I don't speak Spanish. So thank you. We got Figure09 saying, I mean, they are call-in shows. You are doing planned debates. I've done call-in shows too, or call-in streams. And again, creationists just don't show up. So I don't know if the channel is just not big enough, but when the channel actually was just starting out, a ton of creationists would show up to the live streams. And then as I started to get more videos and people started to be able to see my debates and stuff, it just seemed like less and less creationists were interested in engaging. Go figure. It said, imagine being an adult atheist, lol. You mean like the majority of philosophers and scientists and physicists and PhDs and educated people in the world? Yeah, imagine. TechraTube, got a thumbs up, well, thumbs up back. Justin said, Grayson, you should come to Sarnia, Ontario this August for BajaCon and hang out with me. Forrest and Erica will be there too. I have heard great things about BajaCon. I saw, I think Erica and Forrest were just at the last one, and I was like seeing some of the pictures and videos there, and I was getting a little bit, low-key jealous. And Ontario, here's some great news for all of my Canadian subscribers and fans of Canada, I guess in general. Because of a new Canadian law that just passed back in December, I have actually become eligible for Canadian citizenship because my grandfather was a Canadian, was born in Canada. He's a Canadian citizen. And so they just passed this law that, you can be grandfathered in. So I am like in the midst of doing my application for citizenship, but it looks like I should meet all the qualifications and I should be able to become a Canadian citizen soon. So that's like super exciting to me. Love Canada. I would love to go to Ontario. Honestly, I am now considering this, Justin, because also probably my #1 travel destination in Canada. I don't know. I was about to say that, but Vancouver is really freaking beautiful. Banff is really incredible. I've always wanted to go to Banff National Park. But even more than that probably is the Perimeter Institute in Waterloo in Ontario. Just like I think maybe an hour outside of Toronto, an hour and a half. And like the Perimeter Institute is like one of the foremost institutions of theoretical physics in the world. It would be an absolute dream of mine to go to the Perimeter Institute just to like, I don't know, just feel surrounded by all of like these amazing physics luminaries that like, I read a lot of their publications. I see their online lectures. To be able to attend one of the public lectures at the Perimeter Institute, major bucket list goal. If that could coincide with BajaCon, that would honestly be a trip that I would definitely be interested in. Honestly, I might have to talk to you about that, Justin. Figure said, maybe we can maybe you can debate Grayson. Oh yeah, I think I have talked. I'm pretty sure that this guy is P Mars, right? I'm pretty sure I've talked to P Mars before, but yeah, I mean, if P Mars thinks he's got the juice and wants to have a debate, I would love to have another debate on the channel. Honestly, like creationists, where are you at? I'm doing an opening challenge here. Come at me. Like I want to have more debates on the channel, please. If it's close to Ecuador but not South America, maybe Panama. Wrong direction. Well, actually, you're in the right direction from Ecuador, but yeah, keep going. It was Guatemala. Oh, here we go. P Mars saying that they would love to. Okay. P Mars, let's get on this. Please email me. You can find my email in the about section. It's criticalbasedinquiry@gmail.com. Send me an email. Let's set it up. Get the topic all hammered out, and let's like have a debate. I'm honestly super excited. Finally. Aprender. Okay, I always have issues with saying this guy's name, but he's awesome. I see him in the live chats. Very knowledgeable about abiogenesis, biochemistry in general. I think, did he mention Brazilian? I want to say, but this guy's awesome. Wish I could pronounce the name better. Gag, another name that I haven't tried to pronounce. But hey, Grayson, where have you been? I've been a little bit all over. Like I've said before, I've been traveling a lot since like last summer-ish. But right now I am in Guatemala and loving it. This country is like paradise. The weather's awesome. Like I've got the window open right now, just feeling the breeze. Let's see. Planet Peterson Arch Nem is Philbros. Yeah, I don't know if I like dislike the Philbros. To me, they're like the same level of dislike as creationists, honestly. But like the Philbros do have a similar kind of feeling of intellectual superiority. But they seem to like the strategy of like, if I can just talk fast enough, I like it. Just seems like the Philbros are always trying to talk as fast as humanly possible to like hope that you won't actually get a chance to like hear what the actual premises for their argument are. They just try to blow past them as fast as possible. We got creationist Dr. Dan here saying congrats on the 8K. Love you, buddy. Dr. Dan's awesome again. So much respect for Dr. Dan. For this guy's putting out videos every single week, every Wednesday. I mean, incredible. I don't know how he does it. Obviously, like I cannot compete with that. My record right now is pretty terrible. But yeah, Dr. Dan, and just recently he kind of exposed, like shine the spotlight on something that I think a lot of other people missed. I mean, even I looked a little bit at this Nathaniel Jeanson interview on Standing for Truth channel, and I missed this. But there's like a 20-second little segment where Nathaniel Jeanson admits that the model that he's been going with for like the past 20 years, he had to abandon because it's just blatantly wrong and in conflict with the data. And of course, he would never say it so strongly. He really like skimmed over it. And Dr. Dan was the one that noticed it and made the video highlighting it. And it's just, he's my hero for that one. Dr. Dan and Nathaniel Jeanson have like a long history beefing. And like, it's just like, it's awesome. It's one of my favorite rivalries in this space. I don't even say rivalry, honestly, because like Jeanson is just such a funny character. It's not even like, I don't know. He's got these little ticks that like about how if you bring up anything, he's going, oh, well, clearly you didn't read my book because it's actually on page 62. And it's just like, I just find it hilarious. I wish that Nathaniel Jeanson was willing to debate more. He like did like one debate with Dan and basically spent the entire time complaining that Dan didn't read his book close enough, even though he clearly did and was like citing things from it. But he just refused to engage in any argument. He's like, well, it's on page 72 of my book. But ever since then, he's like refused to really engage in any other debates, which I think is a shame because I got a lot of entertainment value from that first one, watching Dan destroy him. So Nathaniel Levy said creationism has come full circle. Lol. Started out as precept, tried evidence, and circled back to precept. Yeah, it doesn't really go so well when they try to use evidence because not really on their side. Although so many of them seem to be convinced that it is. It's really like an incredible Jedi mind trick. I mean, the one I'm specifically thinking about is Paul Price, who I've debated on this channel, and he's got an upcoming debate with Zach Hancock, the population geneticist. And he was like bragging to me in some YouTube comments the other day about how, you know, oh, the evidence is on my side. All the textbooks are outdated. And Grayson, he knows the outdated textbooks really well, but his science is out of date because the evidence is on our side. And he's literally going to be debating like mutations or genetic entropy with a literal population geneticist very smart individual, Zach Hancock, and he's like convinced that he's going to win that debate. I honestly, like, the arrogance is off the charts with some of these creationists. Like, the Dunning-Kruger effect is strong with these ones. Not Nicaragua either, Guatemala, as we figured out. Before you go to Origin of Life, make sure you fully understand single-celled life forms, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, that's good advice. There's a lot of other processes involved in the origin of life other than just like ones that you would learn about in cellular biology. But I think that's a tremendous starting point. Understanding the way that cells work, the way that specifically like metabolism works is incredibly important. In understanding the dynamics between DNA, RNA, protein, all these things. I mean, yeah, very much. Probably the most difficult step in the whole history of life, evolutionarily. Like, you see a lot of these big steps that look really major, like from, land-based mammals to whales looks pretty big, or from birds to dinosaurs, from fish to tetrapods. But honestly, like the even more so than like from single cell to multicellular life, which seems like the biggest transition of all, really the most difficult one to accomplish evolutionarily is from prokaryotes to eukaryotes. So yeah, and we've made massive achievements in figuring that out, like the discovery of Asgard archaea. But still, like, understanding that transition is probably like the most difficult transition to actually understand scientifically, because also, like, not really going to find a lot of evidence in the fossil record for things like, organelles or some of these extreme microfossils like that. Sezium says there's a BBC podcast on In Our Time, Darwin, Life After Origins. That sounds really interesting. Oh, wait. Deleterious Laplace Demon, who asked the question about the author before, I think that this is the guy. I said that his name was Rama something. I couldn't remember it, but this looks right. I can't confirm fully right now, but I'm pretty sure this is the guy that was writing the book on, like, I found it personally to be a really good book summarizing, like, it was a deep dive into the topics, but pretty much every claim was sourced. The bibliography was immaculate. And I'm pretty sure that this is the guy that wrote the book on like a good, like a high level, but a really in-depth introduction to abiogenesis, where like it seemed like really most of the different niches were covered, most of the different areas. I mean, it is like a very informationally dense book, but I recommend it. And Figure was responding to him. We got a whoop from Dylan Johnson, who was the first person to guess Guatemala. Congratulations again. Welcome back. Thanks, Stargate Chris. Again, a second mention of Stargate. That's awesome. Am I in Cuba that the internet is bad? Nope, Guatemala. But I'm honestly shocked at how well the internet has been performing for this stream. It's actually been incredible. We got a how dare you. I don't know what I said. I don't know what I said. I'm sorry, Stargate Chris. We got a super chat from Stacy. Hey, Grayson, just dropping in real quick to welcome you back and offer congratulations on the 8K from Stacy Sick-Ass Panther. Well, that is a sick-ass name, Stacy, and thank you so much for the congratulatory message and the super chat. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm feeling the love right now from everybody. It's honestly, it's so good to be back. Got Tyler West. Are you going to do any trash talk in Guatemala? Well, so here's the issue, right? I have apparently pretty decent Wi-Fi at the apartment here, which is a shock to me. But outside, like, I have actually thought about doing like a trash talk stream here, because I've been seeing some trash. And for such a beautiful location like this, like, I feel like it would make for an incredible like trash talk stream, and it would be awesome picking up some of the trash here. Because, like, honestly, I haven't seen a single public trash can in this entire town. I don't know what's up with the public trash cans here, but like, people are just throwing stuff on like right next to the shore of the lake, or it rains and then all this trash shows up, and I'm like, damn, like I really want to pick up some of it. I get the urge to pick up this trash. But on a stream, I don't think that my cell phone could not even handle it in the States. And I've got a Guatemalan cell service provider here. It's not like I've got Starlink or anything to be able to do an IRL stream. So I don't think technologically that's going to be feasible for me to do here in Guatemala, despite like how much I would love to do that. Like again, like it's like a dream of mine to go to these different countries in the world and pick up trash and do these trash talk streams there. That would literally be incredible if I could figure out how to pull it off technologically. Cezium says it was just an early guess based on the limestone. I'm not sure what they're referring to. What came first, chicken DNA or chicken eggshell? But I mean, based on the way that you formulated that question, it would have to be simultaneous, right? I mean, once it's got chicken DNA, then it would have chicken eggshell. But if you don't have that qualifier of specifically chicken eggshell, well, eggshells predate chicken DNA. So like eggshells evolved first. Oh shit, I'm back. Yeah, great to see you as well, buddy. Boom. Okay, well, this is just I got a lot more comments, but this was the second paper that I wanted to talk about for the abiogenesis discoveries. I was talking about what seems like forever ago now, the three biggest breakthroughs in the last year in the field of abiogenesis and origin of life research, and this was the huge one, probably the biggest one I thought that I would was the most exciting. So this is the paper for QT45, a very QT molecule, but this was like one of the coolest papers I've seen in a hot minute. So just to sort of summarize what they did here, right? They started out with a huge database of different RNA sequences that were just randomly generated by their computer, right? They just randomly generated thousands and thousands and thousands of all these random sequences. And then they filtered them based on their activity to see, do any of these random sequences display any kind of interesting behaviors, interesting functions that maybe we didn't expect? And it turns out that they did. One of them they then took, and then they sort of introduced these sort of mutations to it to sort of explore that sequence space a little bit farther and see, if they could refine this activity that we're going to talk about. But they ended up through this, again, and the methodology here is one of the coolest parts. The fact that they started with just randomized sequences of RNA, just random sequences, and they ended up finding this specific sequence here that is referred to as QT45. And that is a 45 nucleobase sequence. So 45 letters of RNA, just 45. And it has the ability here that can synthesize both itself and its complementary strand, which means that by itself, without the aid of any other proteins or any polymerases or any of that protein-based enzyme cellular machinery that does it now, it can replicate itself. It can self-replicate its own sequence, which is, again, the biggest property to kickstart Darwinian evolution. Once you have a self-replicator that's capable of mutating and has variable fitness, I mean, that is off to the races with Darwinian evolution. And the fact that they found this molecule and it's only 45 nucleotides long, I mean, that is incredibly short. I mean, this pairs really well also with the previous study, where they started from really, really short, 1 to 3 carbon molecules. And then they were forming chains of RNA, 6 and potentially more than 6 nucleotides long. And then just to go from that to something that is 45 nucleotides long, it's really not that huge of a difference. I mean, we're finding prebiotically relevant means of synthesizing chains of RNAs. And then we're finding a relatively short RNA molecule that is capable of by itself facilitating its own self-replication. It's incredible times right now in the field of abiogenesis. Like this study right here was probably the biggest surprise of any scientific discovery the last year for me in particular. Like I cannot tell you how cool this freaking study is. To the fact that, like, you know, just thinking about, I mean, there's a finite possibility of different RNA sequences, right? So if the RNA world hypothesis really is the way that life originated, and the first self-replicating molecules really were RNA, these ribozymes, then this one might just be the simplest and the shortest one to make. Only 45 nucleotides long, and it already has this incredible activity of self-replication. I mean, this is like, I mean, just thinking about, like, this could potentially be the molecule that started life. I mean, they could have found that this year, or I guess this came out, was this 2025 or 2026? I think it was 2026. But I don't see the exact date on here, but the fact that they could have found this QT45 molecule has the potential to literally be like the molecule that started life. The fact that they discovered this from just a library of randomized sequences of RNA, and the fact that it has this activity that is such a linchpin to all of biology, and it's just such a simple molecule, it's absolutely mind-blowing. By far the coolest discovery in abiogenesis in a long time, and there's been a lot. Like we've talked about one already. There's been a lot of really cool discoveries in Origin of Life recently, but this one takes the cake for me. QT45 is the GOAT. I mean, it could be one of the coolest molecules ever. I mean, honestly, it has the potential. The odds of us being able to verify something like this and verify that this is how life originated is like astronomically low, because what possible fossil evidence would something like this, like such a transitory molecule, leave? I struggle to imagine how we would be able to actually verify for sure that something like QT45 was the molecule of RNA that kickstarted evolution, but it has that potential. And that's one of the coolest discoveries of the decade to me. Like, this is the coolest paper ever. Yeah, that's what I think about QT45. Thank you for that question, because it gave me the opportunity to talk about one of the coolest papers of the last year that I was really wanting to talk about when it first came out on this channel. We've also, hominin news, like I said, with Homo habilis, with Denisovans, Homo longi now. Now we have a scientific name for Denisovans. We didn't before. That's pretty incredible. There's been a ton of news just on all fronts. It's been a really great year for science. Cook was here, said, glad to see you back. Thought Hovind may have kidnapped you. Lots of people were concerned for my safety when I spent the night at Dinosaur Adventureland. I definitely was like letting people know, like, hey, here's my location, but they did treat me pretty nice overall. But if I was maybe like a different person, like if I was I don't know, they treated me well, maybe because I was nice and I'm a straight white male. That's what I'm talking about. Kentus Hovindus. It would be really funny, but also really, really sad if anybody was ever to name any sort of fossil after Ken Hovind. So hopefully not. Jackson said, have you done much traveling abroad, Grayson? Have you been to New Zealand, my home country? I almost went to New Zealand like in August. I was in Fiji because there was actually like a really, really cheap flight to get from Dallas to Fiji, like a direct flight that they just added that was only like less than $350. So I was in Fiji, and I was going to go on to New Zealand. And then I just got some news of from the family, and I had like a sort of family emergency thing, and I had to change my flight and go back. So I was going to go to New Zealand. It's still on my list. And I honestly, like, in that entire area, I mean, I'm definitely going to Australia soon, or one day at least. And New Caledonia is someplace that I would absolutely love to visit. It's sort of north of New Zealand, and it has some of the most unique flora and fauna, like, anywhere on Earth. Like, I got to see the giant fern trees, like an entire tree that is a fern, that is the tallest fern on Earth. I have to see that. I have to. Let's see. Oh, so you got not a question for me. Have you seen Stated Clearly's Flagellum series? It's really good. I have heard so much about this. I haven't started watching it yet, but that is on my list. I actually was like, I literally just thought, like, maybe 2 days ago, oh yeah, I've got to start watching that series. So, like, I am going to get around to that series because I've been hearing nothing but good things about that Flagellum evolution series. I'm excited to watch it. Zach Hancock is great. Looking forward to that debate. Dude, me too. I cannot. I mean, I think it's maybe like putting the cart ahead of the horse to say that Paul Price is going to be humbled, because I do not think that man is capable of being humble or modest. Like, he is one of the most overconfident creationists, and that is really saying something. Like, that is a really, really, really high bar to be like the most arrogant and overconfident, most Dunning-Kruger of the creationists. But like, Paul Price is in the running for that. And I cannot wait to see him, with all of his confidence, come up against Zach Hancock, who like actually understands genetics. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait for that debate. Hey, Prixie Purple, it's great to see you. I love Prixie. And yes, I'm back. It's been great. I honestly, I'm so glad to be back. And everybody that's come through, I appreciate you guys so much. I was worried that nobody would show up for this, and I would like have to, I haven't even gotten to get through all the scientific discoveries that I had wanted to talk about, because we've had so many questions. So yeah, it's been awesome. I'm back. There are 5 fundamental forces in nature: gravity, electromagnetism, the weak nuclear force, the strong nuclear force, and cognitive dissonance. At first I thought this was going to be some like pseudoscientific nonsense, and I wasn't sure where you're going with it, but you got me. You got me in the back half. How do I think that we should deal with plastic if it does not become food for nature? Yeah, I mean, you guys know I'm pretty passionate about picking up trash. I definitely think that there are, we got to pick up a lot of this plastic, get it out of the oceans. There's really only a small handful of countries left that are responsible for the lion's share of pollution of plastic into the oceans. And that's like a lot of like the river systems in Southeast Asia in particular. And yeah, just through simple like recapture from like the rivers before they get to the oceans can prevent a lot of that. It's been implemented in a lot of other countries. It hasn't gotten to that part of the world yet. But when it does, I mean, we're going to be cutting back a lot of the plastic that actually enters the ocean. We are also seeing a lot of progress being made with microorganisms being able to digest and metabolize these plastics. I think that that's going to continue to be pretty promising. There's a lot of energy within plastic. I mean, my dad used to have this idea about, burning plastic through some sort of like special sort of plastic combustion type engine in order to power different machines, which is horrible for the environment. But he was very interested. It's like a little pet project of his of like figuring out if there was a clean way that you would be able to burn plastic for fuel. Hasn't really been worked out yet. I think the logistics are kind of logistically difficult for such a thing, but it technically would be possible to use plastic as a fuel source. It's just a matter of, can you do it in an efficient and environmentally clean way? That is a potential of like future engineering. Maybe we'll figure out, maybe in the future we could be able to use plastic as our fuel source. But right now I think like the microbes evolving abilities to digest and metabolize plastic is one of the ones that has. It's one of the solutions that maybe is the most promising right now, to my knowledge. Yeah, I would need a Starlink connection to do a trash talk live stream. Yeah, that's true. And I don't know how much Starlink costs. It almost doesn't matter to me just because, like, I hate Elon Musk so much. Like, pretty much any amount of money, I just don't want to contribute to that. Like, I just wish that there was another company that I would be able to have something like Starlink without giving Elon Musk any more money. And it's good to be back, Pibble Punk. Thank you for your comment. Thanks for being here. We got Ian Chen, one of the OG day ones, one of the, I love Ian, man. Ian's awesome. He said, welcome back. I realize your absence was taking it slow, but I'm pleased you've decided to dive back in. Now give me some of that Hawk Tua. Well, I like the pun. Ian always comes in with the best puns. But I'm a little bit unsure about this one, Ian. I'm a little bit unsure. One, I don't want to be in the same group as a Hawk Tool girl. And secondly, this isn't that kind of channel where I'll be giving out Hawk Tool for free. Well, I guess it's not free. He did super chat. So, but regardless, I don't know. I don't think there's a price on that. That is not a package that I offer on this channel. I'm sorry, Ian. But Ian is awesome. Ian also needs to do more debates. Ian's debates are like hilarious. He has like one of the best Ken Hovind debates as well. So yeah, check out Ian. Dave the Brahmin said the political groupthink among my fellow atheists is deeply disturbing. You got to be more specific than that. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I was watching Survive the Island with Bear Grylls, and the amount of plastic on those desert islands was so depressing. Yeah. Maybe Bear Grylls can eat it. Maybe that's a potential solution. He drinks his own pee. Maybe he can eat some plastic. Hey, it's good to see you back. Hope everything is good with you. Thanks, the President 001. It is, yeah. Like I said, I'm in Guatemala right now. I've been loving the country here, despite all of the hippie tourists that I've been encountering. But yeah, it's been beautiful. It's been great here. Viewing channel said there is no God. None of us have a soul. There is nothing supernatural. Do you agree? Yes, I do. Pretty I don't know if that comes to as a surprise to anybody, but yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I don't know about all the caps lock though. Is there a way to burn plastic and send all the waste to Pearl Lane, Lenox, Alabama? I wish. And yeah, so I think I'm caught up on the questions now. That was awesome. That was even more questions than I thought. Been at this an hour and a half already on this stream. You guys are awesome. Thank you, everybody that is showing up here. Yeah, this has been a really fun stream for me so far. And so now I think is a good time maybe to talk about, I said that there were 3 abiogenesis breakthroughs that I really wanted to talk about that I missed in this sort of hiatus that I was on. So the third one, everybody, this is probably the biggest one in terms of making the headlines. But I didn't really see that many people talking about it in the context of Origin of Life. And that is the discovery of potential signs of life on Mars, which again is a headline that I didn't really think that I would be seeing in my lifetime. It's like, it was one of the coolest headlines, like one of the biggest scientific breakthroughs of the year, which I feel like, I've seen like people's lists of, here's the big breakthroughs of 2025, the big science discoveries, and I'm really not seeing it on anybody's list. And I can't figure out like how potential life on Mars is not making the list of like the biggest scientific discoveries of the year. Like, what? I don't know, because to me, I still remember being in like 4th grade or something when I learned about the Martian fossil that like looks kind of like it could be a bacteria. It's literally just like these little balls like in a little line, like peas in a pod or something. And that just captured my imagination so much. and just thinking about like bacterial life on Mars and there being potential fossils of it on Mars, it was, I mean, it was, I still remember just how much I was just captured and fascinated by that. And there really hasn't been any update on that. Like, it's still sort of like some people say that that's a fossil, and I think like the consensus is pretty much that it's like it's a weird rock, but I don't think the consensus is on it that it's a Martian fossil. But that fossil just elicited such a response from me that I still remember it from fourth grade, and it feels like it's been pretty silent on alien life on Mars front ever since that fossil, I think, was from the 90s or something. And so seeing this headline from last summer where basically the Curiosity rover on Mars found a rock sample that had like little spots on it of a mineral, vivianite, I believe, that there is no known abiogenic mechanism to create it in the conditions that it was found in. Like, the scientists, and I looked at the paper, they were so thorough in terms of trying to find any potential explanation for the presence of this mineral that wasn't life producing it, and they found none. There was no other explanation that is currently known in science that is even like viable to explain how this mineral would be able to form in this rock without the presence of bacterial life. So, I mean, it's literally the strongest evidence we've had yet that life once existed on Mars, which was just such a mind-blowing discovery. But all of the headlines I saw, nobody was discussing it in the context of abiogenesis. And if we have, like, say, hopefully they get this sample back. That was a big thing, is they needed to return the sample for further analysis so that they could know with a higher degree of confidence. And yeah, of course, the Trump administration had cut NASA funding and they weren't going to be able to return the sample, even though the entire mission was designed so that they could return the samples. Whatever. But if they return the sample, and if we learn further that this is the most concrete sign that we have yet of life developing on Mars, I mean, what does that do for the odds of abiogenesis happening? I mean, it suddenly is looking a lot more likely if it's happening on 2 planets in just our one solar system. And of course, you still have to allow for the possibility of panspermia, like maybe that the life traveled in between Mars and Earth, but that's a pretty big distance. I mean, I certainly might be possible, but just, you know, it seems the more likely scenario that abiogenesis would have happened twice in one solar system. I mean, potentially more if these Europa missions pan out or these Titan missions. But I mean, this is just the implications for the origin of life. If we really did discover that there was previous life on Mars, is immense. I mean, that shoots up the probability of abiogenesis even further than, like, I think that currently the oldest evidence of life's presence on Earth is from about 4.1 billion years. So that is very, very old, and implying that abiogenesis really did not take that long in the grand scheme of things. From the moment where Earth first cooled down long enough to have liquid oceans to the very first evidence. And I think this evidence was basically carbon atoms that were basically like a different isotopic signature than would be expected for just naturally occurring carbon atoms, and is more commonly associated with living life, living life. But yeah, with life forms. So yeah, we already had reason to believe that abiogenesis was not very unlikely given the conditions of an early Earth. But if we find further corroboration that abiogenesis occurred also in the conditions of an early Mars, yeah, that's making it look a lot even more probable than it was before. So those are my big 3 abiogenesis breakthroughs that I wanted to talk about on the channel that I didn't really get a chance to. So yeah, it was a huge year, a monumental year for breakthroughs in the origin of life research, and just further evidence that we're not clueless about it as much as James Tour said. And I love that first paper too, because it was like directly proving something that James Tour said was impossible. Like, he straight up said, like, you cannot use borate for forming RNA because it would interfere with it. And they literally found the exact opposite. They found that borate actually facilitates the formation in prebiotic conditions of chains of RNA. So like, that one was just such a fun paper, just because it dunks so hard on James Tour's nonsense that I just really got a smile out of that one. Okay, we got some more questions. Rez says, really the question is how close a real good internet source, how close is a real good internet source? You could always explore the interesting world of long-range networks. Yeah, I don't know much about that, but yeah, I didn't even think that my internet here at my apartment in Guatemala would work. So I've been pleasantly surprised so far at the quality of the stream. At least if it's lagging, nobody's letting me know about it. So Viewing Channel says, do women only mostly love money? No, not from my experience. You know, I think women and men included just generally seem to like companionship, hanging out with people that they like, sharing experiences with people they like. Yeah, I don't know. They just I haven't really seen that many differences in terms of loving money between women and men, to be honest. I mean, I think everybody likes to have a sense of comfort and security. But no, I mean, I know a lot of dudes that love money and a lot of women that love money. So I don't know. I haven't noticed anything like that. Cesium says, I think Bowie is their life on Mars, desensitizing the actual life found in the 1970s, lol. Yeah, well, it's a great song. I'll say that. Great song. We've got Ivan Tchaikovsky saying, welcome back, who's been a member for 13 months. Ivan, thank you. I remember Ivan being there for those original Trash Talk streams. Yeah, Ivan is awesome, and great last name too, Tchaikovsky, one of my favorite composers. Viewing Channel, if there ever was life on Mars, that means there are trillions of planets with life on them at one time or another. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, I was just talking about how it impacts abiogenesis here on Earth, but how it impacts astrobiology if we find, like, literally the closest planet to us also had life evolve on it. Yeah, that's going to massively increase our odds. And again, like, there have been those other discoveries, like JWST finding in the spectrograph of an exoplanet the presence of DMSO, which is a molecule that is another one of those that we have no known explanation for how this molecule can be created except by living things. So yeah, I mean, I am really hopeful. I am optimistic, to call back to before, about just how much we're going to learn about astrobiology and exoplanets within my lifetime. I am very hopeful. You know, even if we don't know the exact like identity of aliens, like what they look like, what their ecology is, even if we don't all know all that, I'm very hopeful that we will at least have like, well, here's a planet where alien life is pretty freaking likely to exist, and we're going to know what those planets are. And I mean, that's just going to be so mind blowing. I really wish that I could know about aliens. Phantom says, can anyone eat 50 eggs? Certainly not me. Maybe there's like a competitive eater out there like Kobayashi who can eat 50 eggs. I don't know, but certainly I cannot. Cheetah says, I firmly believe that life, even intelligent, exists elsewhere, but am also quite convinced we're too far separated to ever detect them. But I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm in the same camp, Cheetah. I mean, I think statistically the probability of there being aliens is basically 100%. But the distances of our universe and the way that relativity works are such that, like, sadly, it kind of seems like we might be cut off from even knowing about them, which, yeah, if I think about that too long, I'm just going to get bummed out. So yeah, I don't like to think about that. I like to be optimistic. Like, I would even take bacterial life. Give me something in like the Europa oceans or something. I would love that. Even if it's just like some bacteria, like I can't imagine like a more fascinating discovery. 50 a day. Nope, too many eggs. Viewing channel asks, if no civilization can exceed the speed of light, we will never hear from aliens outside the Milky Way. Yep, again, y'all are bumming me out. I don't like to think about this. These are sad thoughts. But yeah, I mean, if there's no loophole discovered in physics and, relativity is, if there's no loophole for relativity, this is true. It doesn't really, I don't know. I got my fingers crossed for wormholes or, some sort of warp drive or something, who knows? But with our current physics, it's not looking good. Phantom said, me neither. Are you going to do your trash picking up streams again? I really want to. Like we were discussing, logistically, I don't know how I would pull that off in this country currently. I mean, I was not happy with the reason I stopped at those streams. Like, I still go out and enjoy picking up trash, like, as a hobby. But the reason I stopped streaming it is because, like, the streams just look like shit, to be honest. Like, they would lag, they would get really pixelated. I was not able to, like, it was a POV, but I was not able to, like, really read the comments. I had to have somebody, like, read the comments to me. And I wish that there was, like, a technologically better way to do that. Maybe there is, and I just don't know about it. But it kind of felt like the technology wasn't there to do what I wanted to do with it. I don't know if I need, like, those little meta glasses or something to read comments while I'm doing it. I don't know what the technological solution will be for those types of streams. But yeah, it didn't get to where I wanted it with it. And I didn't think that the videos were, like, very watchable, to be honest. AI will cure all cancers within 10 years. Well, that would be great. If it did, I'm pretty freaking skeptical about that. I think the Looking Glass universe just did a video about that. That's not going to happen. Maybe check out her video about that. She's, like, an expert in quantum computers. But I'm skeptical about this, but I would absolutely love that to be the case. I mean, I would love to be wrong about that. Phantom said, cool, I know another guy who has started streaming that too. In my mind, it'd be cool if you guys did a co-stream. I think that you're referring to Aiden. Shout out to Aiden. He messaged me on Discord and we talked about it. We kind of compared notes a little bit about how to do those streams and stuff, and we talked about it. Yeah, I really like Aiden. I would like to do a collaboration with Aiden. I think that would be really cool. Cheetah said, on an optimistic note, it's almost always the best time to be alive for scientific discoveries. So we're still making progress in huge leaps. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for positive pilling the stream over here. We needed it. But yes, agreed. Like I said, I feel like we're living through a golden age through so much of, like, human evolution, through origin of life stuff. Like, I mean, we're still getting, like, DESI and the Dark Energy Survey, like, I'm very optimistic about us figuring out more about dark energy in the next decade. The JWST with those pale red dots, figuring out that those could be either direct collapse black holes or even primordial black holes from the Big Bang. I mean, revolutionizing our understanding of galaxy formation. Yeah, it's really, really big, cool stuff and discoveries that we've had over the last year in science. It's been, like you're saying, the best time to be alive for scientific discoveries. In the documentary Mars Attacks, famous documentary Mars Attacks, we see we may need Indian Love Call by Slim Whitman to tame the life on Mars before it attacks. Great movie. I freaking love. Who played? Was that Michael Douglas that played no, that was Jack Nicholson, right? That played the president of the United States in that movie. Amazing performance. One of the best fictional presidents ever in any movie. And also a really early role for Jack Black. which is incredible. I mean, Mars Attacks is crazy. It kind of gave me nightmares low key when I was a kid, but like, it's an amazing movie. I love that movie so much. Okay. Derek Williams said, tell your mom hello from 1600 Lion Street, Wani. I love y'all. I don't know if you should be giving out your address. I don't know where that location is, but I will tell my mom hello. Thank you for your message, Derek. And yes, okay, it is Aiden. Yeah, Aiden's awesome. I like seeing his streams with Atheist Junior. Yeah. So cool. We're caught up on questions again. That means that maybe we can bounce around. This video is a little bit too long for me to cover it entirely. It's in its entirety, but I wanted to, I've been catching up on science. We've been going over the discoveries in science. We haven't really touched on pseudoscience yet. So maybe I'll close the stream off by talking about some of the big discoveries in creationism that I missed. So here we go. We've got this new video that came out a couple days ago from ICR, the Institute of Creation Research. And they've got 5 new discoveries, like they say, new discoveries that have atheists in all caps scrambling. And for those of you that don't know, ICR seems like the biggest creationist channel on YouTube, which surprised me. I thought it would be like Answers in Genesis, since they seem to be like the biggest ones, but no. ICR, whose headquarters is like a couple miles away from where I grew up in Dallas, their videos consistently get the most viewership of any creationist channel on YouTube. And so, I thought we should check it out, because I don't think I have done many busting of the ICR people. So let's just real quick. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. I'm not gonna watch this whole video, skip around a little bit, but let's look at some of these 5 quote unquote new discoveries from creation science.
What has convinced you of that? Like, what's bad about it? Because we have 130 papers. How do you have 130 bad science papers, that describe these biomaterials in all kinds of animals all over the world? You're just gonna say it's bad science. Well, what makes it bad science? With the 36 techniques that we've used so far in this business, none of those are worth anything?
No. So this is just real quick. He said, are none of the creationist publications worth anything? No, they're not. This is the thing that these creationist institutions do, like the Discovery Institute or ICR. They try to have their own creationist journals, and then they try to have a ton of publications and do sort of a quantity over quality type thing and say, well, look, we have 130 publications. How can that possibly be wrong? Well, yeah, they can easily be wrong. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me know if you guys think that I should slow down the video. I'm on 2x speed right now. If you can't understand what they're saying, or yeah, maybe they sound too much like chipmunks, we'll see. But let me know if it's a problem.
If you paid attention to science headlines lately, you may have noticed something interesting. Across astronomy, genetics, geology, and paleontology, researchers are publishing discoveries that don't fit neatly within long-age expectations. From James Webb's images of unexpectedly mature galaxies to dinosaur research and genetic studies challenging familiar origin stories, these aren't fringe ideas or speculation. They're peer-reviewed discoveries that made waves in 2025. And when you step back and look at them together, they tell a surprisingly consistent story, one that aligns remarkably well with the biblical worldview.
No. No, they don't. Literally nothing about the James Webb Space Telescope or like discoveries of soft tissues and dinosaur fossils align well at all with the creationist worldview. It just doesn't. I mean, yeah, Cheetah is absolutely correct that they are cosplaying as science. Yeah, it's not good right now with the creation science. Somebody needs to check in with them, because the amount of it's basically like almost like a stolen valor type situation of them trying to claim actual scientific discoveries as their own. It's really bad.
Today's episode is different from anything we've ever done before. Instead of one topic with one scientist, we're highlighting 5 major discoveries from 4 ICR scientists working across multiple fields. Welcome to the Creation Podcast, where we explore how science confirms scripture. I'm your host, Mary Claire, and today we're counting down the top 5 scientific discoveries of 2025 that confirm a biblical worldview. We'll hear from Dr. Jake Hebert on 2 major discoveries, what the James Webb Space Telescope is revealing about the age of the universe, and a new study suggesting Tyrannosaurus rex may have taken up to 40 years to mature. Dr. Jeff Tompkins will walk us through genetic research that confirmed and vindicated his work on the chimp genome. Dr. Tim Clary will explain why sedimentary rock does in fact form rapidly. And finally, Dr. Brian Thomas will discuss his recent publication in a mainstream journal on original dinosaur proteins preserved in fossils. We're starting with one of the most talked about scientific instruments of our time, the James Webb Space Telescope. Since its launch, Webb has delivered breathtaking images.
Yeah, that is one thing. So that was a brief overview of what they're going to be going over, but the amount of creationists trying to twist what the James Webb Space Telescope has showed to try to fit some sort of anti-Big Bang narrative, it's like they've been at this since 2022. They've been trying to do this and it hasn't been working, but like I guess it has been working to some of the creationists, because the amount of times that I hear creationists parroting this point about, oh, well, the James Webb Space Telescope disproved the Big Bang. No, it didn't. In no way, shape, or form did it. It's not even equipped to do so. It sees in the infrared spectrum, not the microwave spectrum. It cannot even see far enough to even weigh in about the Big Bang at all. It literally tells us nothing about the Big Bang.
But also some unexpected problems for mainstream cosmology. Joining us first is Dr. Jake Hebert, physicist and ICR researcher. I am so excited to discuss these fascinating topics with you today, Dr. Hebert.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mary Claire, for having me.
Of course. So in about one sentence, what is your role here at ICR, and how does the James Webb Space Telescope fit within your wheelhouse?
Well, I'm a research scientist here at ICR. My background's in physics, and so I try to keep my pulse on things that are cosmology related, astrophysics related, because that comes up a lot when you're having these discussions about creation versus evolution.
Yeah, that makes
no, it doesn't. I mean, it shouldn't. When you're discussing creation versus evolution, you don't really have to talk about the Big Bang at all. It's not relevant to the topic of evolution. This is basic can opened level. Yeah, okay. Maybe I will put it down to 1.5 times. Maybe 2 times is a little bit too much chipmunk speed. Let's see how it goes.
Makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
So when the James Webb Space Telescope, when it launched, many scientists expected it to confirm what they already believed about the early universe, but it seems to actually be doing the complete opposite. So what are astronomers actually seeing?
Well, they're seeing what appear to be very mature galaxies at extreme distances, and they were not expecting that, because they think that when you look deep into space, you are looking back to a time very shortly after the Big Bang.
Yeah, okay. Already have to correct this. Very mature galaxies. No. The galaxies that James Webb is seeing, especially at the very farthest distances, are not very mature. They actually don't look anything like mature galaxies that we see. Like they found like some spiral bar galaxy types that are younger than we would have expected. It's not like I'm saying like that we haven't found more mature galaxies than were expected, but calling them very mature is just disingenuous. Like these galaxies are distinct from modern mature galaxies. When like they have a different elemental signature, they have far less amounts of heavier elements and lower metallicities than modern galaxies. They have shapes that are unique that we don't see in modern mature galaxies. I mean, it is just a blatant lie to try to say that James Webb has found modern mature galaxies at these vast distances. Like these galaxies are different. They do look younger. They do look weird. They look really massive, really bright, and really low in like heavier elements that modern galaxies have. And they don't have the same shapes. They're different shapes. I mean, how can you get something this wrong unless you're lying, which is very clearly what's happening.
And they believe it takes hundreds of millions of years for these galaxies to form. And so for them to see galaxies, mature-looking galaxies at such early times after the Big Bang, by their reckoning, and of course we don't accept that timeline, but it's a surprise to them. And it wasn't that long ago that the mainstream scientists said that the first stars were not formed until about 400 million years after the Big Bang.
Yeah, okay. So we all know at this point that James Webb is revolutionizing like the idea about how galaxies formed. But the thing is that we didn't really have that solid of an idea of how galaxies formed. Like we had hypotheses that were somewhat supported by some evidence, but mainly we were looking in our own local sections of the galaxies to derive these ideas about how galaxies forms. Now we understand that galaxies formed a lot faster and by a different mechanism than we thought. This has no impact at all on the timeline of the Big Bang. It's not even relevant to the Big Bang. Like this is about galaxy formation. So yeah, this is just patently not at all about the Big Bang. Let's go to the second here.
Suggested that Tyrannosaurus rex may have taken up to 40 years to reach full maturity. That's considerably longer than the earlier estimate of just 25 years.
Yeah, and if you guys are wondering, how is this relevant at all to supporting a young Earth? Nobody knows.
What new evidence led researchers to revise how fast T-Rex actually grew?
Okay, well, it's not so much that there was new evidence. They just found a better way to analyze the evidence they had. You see, there are growth rings in long bones like the tibia or femur that you can count. And that's one way they can try to assign an age to a dinosaur bone. The problem is those long bones have a spongy center.
Yeah.
And that spongy center gets bigger as the animal grows. And some of those growth bands get erased.
I also think it's hilarious. I just want to point out that they're trying to bring on, in the title, they say the Christian PhDs. Like, these guys are like experts in the field. And this guy is apparently both an expert in cosmology and also paleontology. So, yeah, I mean, it's so much for these guys being like expert, like PhDs relevant to the topics that they're talking about. Like, they just found people with PhDs willing to grift for creationism. Like, whoop-de-doo.
And so it's always been a guessing game to what number do I assign to that first visible band. And so a lot of times they would just use one data point from a fossil. But you really had more data points. Like, you might have 7 or 8 rings that you can see. And so you've got a part of a growth curve, okay? You just don't know what number to assign to the first ring. Well, what they realized is that, we've got all of these, they had about a dozen of these partial growth curves, and that they realized very cleverly that they could slide those partial growth curves relative to one another so that the trajectory of one growth curve matches the trajectory of the other growth curve, and you can extend them end to end to get a super.
And like, this is cool science. Like, it has absolutely nothing to do with creationism or the age of the earth, but it is cool science, like learning about the life cycles of dinosaurs. Like, it's just cool to know.
Growth curve. Okay, so it's not perfect. You're still having to make some assumptions, but you're being able to use a lot more data. And so when they did that, they got an age of about 40 years, and they were very rigorous. They tried it.
So yeah, does anybody have an idea about how he's going to try to tie this into creationism? Because I was shook. This was the dumbest reasoning even possible.
Different ways. Not all the bands are immediately visible. Some are only visible under what you call cross-polarized light. And so they tried it 4 different ways. And it turns out they got the best overall results when they counted every single band. And that led to that age of 40 years.
I gotcha. So from a biological standpoint, why would extremely rapid growth in a massive animal like a T-Rex, why would that actually be surprising?
Well, it would be surprising. It's more surprising for the sauropod dinosaurs. The evolutionists were claiming that the long-necked, long-tailed, humongous sauropod dinosaurs like Apatosaurus, there was one paper that was published in Nature in 2001 that said it reached maturity in 15 years. Now, that's just hard to believe. For an animal that big to reach it that quickly is just hard to believe. So, bigger animals, you generally expect them, you would think they might take longer to mature.
Yeah, so premise 1, we learn more about the lifespans and time to maturity of dinosaurs. Premise 2, question mark, conclusion, the earth is 6,000 years. I gotta see this connector.
Especially a sauropod dinosaur.
Okay, so if dinosaurs matured slowly, what does that imply about how long they lived and what kind of world they lived in?
All right, well, there have been studies done of longevity in living animals, and those studies consistently, repeatedly show that animals that take a long time to mature tend to live longer. So a delayed or
No way, I can't believe it.
prolonged maturation interval is strongly associated with greater longevity. So what that means is that these animals were living a long time. And it's especially obvious with the sauropod dinosaurs. The people who did this study also got growth curves for the sauropod dinosaurs like Apatosaurus. And whereas other scientists were saying they matured in 15 years, they said, no, this is more like 100 years. 100 years for Apatosaurus to reach maturity. So that is a very long.
Yeah, that seems insane to me. I mean, I would be very, very surprised if that is the number that ends up being corroborated by the evidence. I would be shocked if it took 100 years for sauropods to reach maturity. But even if we just assume that's the case, it has absolutely no bearing on the age of the earth.
Long stretched out growth interval, and you would expect an animal that takes that long to mature would have a very, very long lifespan.
You definitely would. So to bring it all back, how does research fit naturally within a biblical framework of creation and these early earth conditions?
Well, the Bible tells us that in the pre-flood world, people were routinely living to be 800 or 900 years old. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, unless you want to say that.
If you just have to think about it, guys, just think about it.
Longevity was supernatural, and I don't think there's any reason to do that. I don't think most creationists would say that. There just seems to have been something about the pre-flood world that normally allowed people to live longer. Well, if you think about it, pretty much any mechanism that you can imagine to explain the greater longevity for humans would also apply to the animals.
Yeah, and there it is. That's right. He's literally, let me summarize this argument. Dinosaurs lived longer than expected. which means that humans also lived longer than expected, which means that the Bible is correct. That is the kind of reasoning for the top 5 biggest discoveries that have atheists scrambling. Oh, we're scrambling. Dinosaurs lived longer than expected. Oh no, the Earth has to be 6,000 years because apparently if dinosaurs lived longer than expected, this guy thinks that it is therefore logical to assume that humans were living for hundreds of years, that Noah and Methuselah and all those guys were real, and that the Bible is a real history book. Because dinosaurs, and specifically T-Rex, lived for like 40 years. That's the logic we're going with. I just can't, man. I can't with this. This is like the most idiotic thing. I mean, this is like, I can't even with this. I cannot even with this. This guy is supposed to be a PhD. Let's go to the third point.
Frequently cited claims in human evolution, the genetic similarity between humans and chimpanzees. Dr. Tompkins, thank you so much for being back on the show today.
It's great to be back.
Amazing. So you've spent years working.
And yeah, notice that they had to get Thompson on here rather than Casey Luskin, who Casey Luskin is the one who's been popularizing this this claim amongst creationist circles. They couldn't even get Casey Luskin for this show. They got Thompson, he's been debunked on this so hard, so many times. Like even the other creationists, like Rob Carter, had to say, yeah, Thompson's math is wrong on this. And he had to he's not even going up. He has done his own research about the genetic similarity between humans and chimps. And now he's not even talking about that anymore because he's been so thoroughly embarrassed about his own research. And now he has to come on and talk about actual scientific research. And I'll just summarize this point because this is by far the longest point in the video, and it's been summarized by Casey Luskin and others. But essentially, the creationists are referring to a real study that came out using a novel methodology of comparing DNA similarities. So there's different methods of comparing. Like the whole number that people often hear about, 98% similar, is just comparing protein coding genes between chimpanzees and humans. They're 98% similar when you're just comparing the protein coding genes. But there's other methods of comparison. And with this method, which is, again, not even a new method. This method had been around before 2025, but this new paper in 2025 used the method to compare various primates, including humans, and they came up with a number of I think 84% genetic similarity using this method between humans and chimps. And all of the creationists launched onto this as somehow thinking that it supports their worldview and somehow is supposed to be evidence for that evolution isn't true. But they always are lying by omission and sometimes just outright lying when they talk about this study, because the thing that they never like to bring up is that if you were to use this method to compare two members of the same species, like the actual paper compares gorillas, like the intraspecies genetic similarity of gorillas, and comes out with 87% similar. So by the same method that humans and chimpanzees are 84% similar, two gorillas of the same species are 87% similar. It's like, come on, you try to use this. I mean, all of the exact same relationships in terms of what is more similar to what are preserved using this method. It's just a different absolute value for the percentage similarities. It has absolutely no bearing on evolution, or teaching us anything new that we knew about how similar these animals are. It's just lying and obfuscation from these creationists. In fact, Casey Luskin famously cut out the part of the chart that talked about the gorilla to gorilla similarity. He had to edit the chart to remove that so that his creationist viewers would not see it, because he knows how terrible it makes his whole argument about the paper look. It's just the level of dishonesty and lying around this paper is just off the charts with these creationists. If you use this method that gives you 84% similarity between humans and chimps, you will still get that chimps and bonobos are more similar to humans than they are to any other kinds of primates. So you can't explain that one, creationists. I mean, they can't actually explain any more than just cherry picking a certain number and trying to think that it's 84% using this method instead of 98%, and that somehow is going to be support for young Earth. No, it's not. It's another lie. And this is by far like the longest segment. So let's just see if I can skip to the next point, so we're not here all day. And yeah, like I said, this is the majority of the video is just on this. Okay, let's go to the next part.
Sedimentary rock layers are often presented as proof of a world that's millions of years old. But what if those layers don't require long ages at all? Joining us now is Dr. Tim Clary, geologist and director of research at ICR. Dr. Clary is going to discuss how sedimentary rock really does form fast, contrary to some popular belief. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Clary.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here.
Amazing. So, Dr. Clary, you've studied rock layers on a global scale. What makes sedimentary rock such a key issue in the origins debate?
Well, a lot of people think sedimentary rock takes a long time to form, as you mentioned, and you're taught this in school. Every geology student is taught.
Yeah, and this is just an example of painting with too broad of a brush, right? He's just saying sedimentary rock takes too long to form. Just like completely ignoring the fact that there's different types of sedimentary rock and different types take different amounts of time to form. Wow, shocker. Of course, this is a level of nuance that is too high level for the creationists to even consider.
That sedimentary rock takes a long process, and it's more complicated than some rocks. Igneous rocks just cool from a melt, and metamorphic rocks, get either squeezed or cooked to a higher temperature, and they change. But sedimentary rocks have to go through a process of, first of all, you have to have the sediment that forms from the weathering process. You have to have like pieces of rock that break off, and those rocks have to be transported, usually by water of some sort. And then in the process, they often become rounded. Those pebbles become from angular chunks to more rounded pieces or sub-rounded, different terms we use. Okay. And then eventually those have to be deposited somewhere else. So they can transport from a hill, for example, down a river, out to the ocean, into like a delta. Well, even then, the final step is cementing those materials together. So each little sand grain has to be, unlike loose sand, it has to be kind of held together with some sort of a chemical cement. Okay. And so it's a long process. And so we've always been taught, every geology student gets taught the same thing. These take tens of thousands of years for this whole process to happen, or if not millions sometimes. And
again, it depends on what type of sedimentary rock you're talking about. Some take long, some don't take long.
Transport distance has to be a great distance. And so this what's interesting is we find that's not true.
I see. So what kind of real world observations show that sedimentary rock can actually form quickly, even though, like you said, there's a lot of people who think that it is going to take millions of years?
There was a groundbreaking study last year, just 2025, that showed that they can make sedimentary rock in a matter of decades.
Not just sedimentary rock, a specific subcategory of sedimentary rock, clastic sedimentary rocks, that are the fastest ones to form. So yeah, those can form even faster than geologists realize. They can form just within like the last 150 years. That spoiler, that's what the study shows. Yeah, try doing that with limestone, Dr. Clary. You won't be able to. I mean, try to form limestone faster. This is another type of sedimentary rock, limestone, that can only form in very certain conditions. And the very fastest way to form limestone is actually very cool, very calm, like, tropical waters. I mean, not like cold, but like warmish, cool waters. The flood waters, not so calm, not so cool. Will be like boiling heat with the heat problem. There's no way to form limestone that fast. I mean, especially not organic limestone that has like mini fossils in it. I mean, this is just absurd to try to say, oh, well, this paper shows that clastic sedimentary rocks can form faster than expected, just within a few hundred years. So therefore, all kinds of sedimentary rock can form that quickly. It's just such fallacious reasoning that even a child would be able to see through it. And again, it's just more lying by omission. It's almost as if you cannot actually obtain a PhD in a scientific topic and still be a creationist without lying both to yourself and to your audience. With these guys that have PhDs, they know better. They know what they're saying is wrong, and they understand that they are lying by omission, but they are lying knowingly, which I thought was a sin. But I guess if it's in the service of Jesus and creationists and winning converts, then it's totally okay. So let's just skip over to the last point here, because yeah, he's just going to keep repeating the same error of thinking that if one type of sedimentary rock can form fast, then all kinds have to be able to form fast, which would be required for a flood, which just does not follow at all. So the last one is, of course,
with ICR paleontologist Dr. Brian Thomas. I'm excited to round out this episode with you today, Dr. Thomas.
Me as well.
For years, claims of soft tissue and proteins in dinosaur fossils were dismissed.
Of course, it's soft tissues in dinosaur fossils, even though this video is labeled New Discoveries. We're going to go back to Mary Schweitzer's work from like the mid 2000s, 20 years ago. That's their new 2025 discoveries.
Or explained away. But in 2025, that changed in a significant way.
No, it did not. We've been knowing this for 20 years now.
So, Dr. Thomas, you've done quite a bit of work here at ICR, particularly concerning proteins found in dino fossils. So can you give a brief overview of your background and this research that we're about to dive into?
Nope. We're going to skip over that stuff. Okay, let's get to the actual paper that he published.
Participated in. These are mainstream, science journals, peer-reviewed science journals. And so what I found over these years, and I brought this research into my PhD program since working here at ICR. One of the trends that we found is that you might find original biomaterial in a fossil that's way down at the bottom of the geological.
Yeah, also this is weird because this guy's not a PhD. I know I skipped over it, but he just says he has a master's degree in biochemistry, and they said that they had 4 PhDs here, so they can't even lie about their own. I mean, they can't even tell the truth about their own credentials.
Geologic column, in the middle of it, anywhere.
Yeah.
You might find some of this because it's already been found in any continent. So and you might find it in any kind of.
Yeah, one of the things that was actually new in science in 2025 was they discovered, I believe, collagen fragments and protein fragments in fish fossils from the Denisovan period. So, yeah, I mean, that is the oldest so far that they have found these proteins. And you'll be shocked that the scientists are if you even look at the introduction to that paper, it's like, it is well known now that collagen fragments and protein fragments can preserve for millions of years. They have several papers showing the mechanisms by which this happens. And then they're like, well, let's just see, like, what are the oldest ones we can find? Let's look at some of these, sorry, did I say Denisovan? I meant Devonian. My bad. It's getting a little tongue twisted here. But yeah, they looked at these fish in the Devonian in the fossils, and they found the oldest known protein fragments at all. And again, it's crazy that now it's just known science, and that these creationists are still trying to peddle known actual science as somehow supporting their position, which it doesn't.
What we call taxa, any of the taxa. So that means any creature kind. So it might be vertebrate, invertebrate, all kinds of. It might be inside of a shell, proteins in shell, proteins in bone, or sometimes it's proteins from feathers and claws. The proteins are still there, remnants of them. Now they don't look pristine or anything, but
yeah. So there's the remnants of them not looking pristine is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, because what he's actually describing is collagen that has been highly, highly fragmented and full of disulfide bridges, which these disulfide bridges are between 2 sulfur molecules within the protein that stabilizes the protein. It's like these form these really incredibly strong bonds that actually change the decay rate of the collagen. It makes it much more stable and last a lot longer. And of course, who's going to ignore that later on? Not this guy, surely.
But they should be long, long gone if these fossils are anywhere close to the age assignments that I grew up being told about them.
Yeah, exactly. This is just such a fascinating and just complex topic. I'm so excited about it. So this year, what exactly was published inside that mainstream journal, and why is it so significant?
Well, we were privileged and thrilled to finally get our research in a pretty high-impact journal called Analytical Chemistry. And so in collaboration with other scientists, we were able to describe collagen protein sequence. So sequence means...
Yeah, so ICR is one of those ones where they try to get some creationists to get some actual publications so that they can boost their credentials and look like a legitimate scientist, so that they can be more impressive to their followers. And, this is a strategy that they've been trying for a long time. you look at the actual science that they publish, it never has anything to do with supporting a young Earth or supporting creationism. It's always very like by the book, like, hey, let's analyze the collagen sequence. Let's use some actual real science here. And then it's only to their audience that then they say, oh, now this supports creation. Now this supports a young age of the Earth. But they never, ever make those claims in their actual papers. Their papers are always fairly innocuous. So again, what this guy is going to claim, let me see if he'll make this claim here. He sequenced it, and then he'll say that this cannot be the case. The collagen would have all decayed.
Sequence that we're pulling out of an Edmontosaurus fossil. So we did all the work acquiring the fossil, cataloging the fossil, making sure it's all above board and recorded, and then sending portions of this fossil to different labs for different analyses. So we have 5 different analytical techniques that we brought to bear on this one fossil. Each one says the same message. This is really collagen. This is really collagen. This is really collagen.
Yeah, Mary Schweitzer knew that it was collagen 20 years ago. This is not a big new discovery.
And for the first time in the history of this particular discipline of proteins in fossils, we quantified, which means we counted how much hydroxyproline, which is one of the amino acids that makes.
I mean, cool. I mean, it's cool to characterize dinosaur collagen and compare it to modern collagen. But yeah, this is great right here. A quote from Mary Schweitzer talking to the Smithsonian that the creationists twist your words and they manipulate your data. Yeah, exactly. Mary Schweitzer used to be a young Earth creationist. Then she got an education and learned about evolution and changed her views to align with the evidence. And then she discovered dinosaur soft tissue. And guess what didn't happen? She didn't become a creationist afterward. Now, you'd have to wonder, why would the person who discovered these soft tissues in dinosaur fossils, why would she not think that this is evidence for a young Earth? She's the expert, right? If it really is supposedly young Earth evidence, why would she disagree with that? Why would she think it's not at all evidence for a young Earth? It's probably because it's not.
Makes up collagen, how much is in there. So that was an exciting first step.
That's amazing. And all of this research is now published in a mainstream journal.
Yeah, analytical chemistry. And so, but that's the thing. Who subscribes to that? Is that like the average person's bedtime reading?
Oh, it's only other scientists that would be able to peer review your claims. That's who's reading it. But of course, that's not the audience that they're interested in reaching. They don't want to reach anybody that actually understands this science.
Probably not, but it's still fascinating and interesting.
Probably not. Well, that's why I love doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And getting the word out to folks who don't necessarily subscribe to that journal or read it. But
that's why he loves doing it, because this allows him to use the real science to lie about creationism to all of his uneducated audiences. And of course, this video has 61,000 views in 4 days. Again, this is the most watched creationist channel on YouTube.
That's what you have to do. These are the steps we take to do good science.
Yes.
We tick all the boxes. We get the peer review, and then we finally get it into print. Then we can talk about it.
Exactly, which is what we're going to do right now.
Doing now.
Yeah, and then you can lie about it and say that and claim that it shows things that it doesn't show and that were never mentioned at all in the paper, because you knew better that you wouldn't be able to get away with such claims if they were ever peer reviewed. But you can in front of this audience.
Oh, yes.
So why is the presence of this original proteins that you talked about, why is it such a problem for long age Earth time?
It's not, but let's listen to him lie about it.
Well, the problem is clear if you know the decay rate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there it is. Let's just let him get a little bit more rope out there before we draw the news here and debunk this foolish claim.
About the decay rate of this protein. It is not a type of material that can last indefinitely. It has a shelf life.
Yeah. And
in fact, we have characterized the decay rate of collagen many different ways, many different times, both secular studies as well as our. We've redone the decay rate studies as well. But it doesn't matter. You could believe the moon is made of cheese and just do the experiment. So your belief doesn't really come into these empirical lab bench decay rate studies. You just measure the protein, over time and watch and plot the results and see how it decays. So it does decay, and it gives us a strong understanding of how fast it decays, and that gives us a strong understanding of how long it can possibly last. It has.
Okay, so this is what the entire claim is based around. This foolish, idiotic idea, right? Okay, we're done with this. We've got through all 5 now. I'm just going to talk about this last one, but this is really a little tricky thing that they do. And the creationists are always doing this. They look at what the decay rate is for normal collagen that has not been stabilized by any mechanism. Then they measure what the decay rate of that normal collagen is, and they extrapolate it and think that there's nothing that could affect that decay rate, even when they acknowledge that the collagen that they're finding in dinosaur fossils is not normal collagen. It's highly fragmented, and it's full of those disulfide bridges. Now, what do the disulfide bridges do? Oh, we already said they stabilize the collagen and change its decay rate. What is the presence of iron molecules, like of iron atoms surrounding the collagen do? It stabilizes it. It changes the decay rate. So the decay rate that they're using does not apply to the molecule that they are analyzing. They're doing normal collagen and then saying it should have the same decay rate as collagen that's been highly stabilized by the presence of iron molecules at anoxic environments and been stabilized by intramolecular disulfide bridges. You can't do that. That is a dishonest technique that they do. This is why the collagen is able to last so long, because of these stabilizing factors that change its decay rate. And they just completely ignore that. Suddenly, the creationists that are talking about accelerated nuclear decay and how, oh, well, how do we know that decay rates are all the same all the time? Suddenly, when we know that there are factors that can alter these decay rates, like we know beyond an absolute fact that disulfide bridges change the decay rates of collagen. Now, all of a sudden, the creationists want to try to say that, oh, well, the decay rate's going to be the same. The decay rate's always going to be the same. Now they try to use, it's just insane, the hypocrisy and the lies that you have to tell to be a creationist, especially a PhD creationist. But anyways, those were the 5 so-called new discoveries in the creation science space. So we looked at the new discoveries in the actual science space. We saw how cool and incredible the last year has been for actual scientific discoveries. And then just for fun, we check in on the creationists and we see what kind of new discoveries that they have to offer. Yeah, I don't think that the results were very surprising. So I'm going to start winding down the stream now. We've been almost at it for 2.5 hours. This has been like just a phenomenal return stream. Everybody that pulled through, I am just so immensely grateful to you all. You can probably hear the tuk-tuks being loud on their engines in the background there. Guatemala is a little bit of a loud country sometimes with all the boats and the tuk-tuks and things like that, but I am loving it here. Yeah, I'm not sure when my next stream is going to be, but I am definitely not going to be gone as long as I was the last time. And I'm going to try to work on some of these trash talk streams and take some of y'all's suggestions too. So actually, I'm curious about what kind of content you guys missed from me the most, or what you want to see more of. People were asking about debates and things like that, but I want to hear from you. So if you can, you know, after you've done liking the video and stuff, and I want to see your comments in the video below. Like once I publish a stream and stuff, could you comment about what topics you want to see me cover, or what kinds of videos you want to see more debunkings, or who do you want to see me debunk? I know that there's a big pseudoscientist that's been blowing up on YouTube ever since this Iran situation, Professor Zhang. And like a lot of people that are only exposed to clips or something of Professor Zhang think that this guy is some sort of geopolitical genius, and he's so insightful. And then if you look at his actual videos, I mean, this guy is the biggest pseudoscientist. He's a Holocaust denier. He's a moon landing denier. He said in one of his videos that evolution and the Big Bang have been easily falsified by science already. I mean, it's just the amount of pseudoscience nonsense that this guy spouts out, in addition to his like anti-Semitic Jewish Illuminati conspiracy theories. It's just like there's been new pseudoscience that have popped up in the space since I've been gone, is basically what I'm saying. And I really want to do a debunking of that guy, because he's just really grinding my gears lately. But Yeah, I want to just look at a couple more of your comments, and then I'll probably just shut the stream down. So let's see. Cheetah said, with an honest person discovers they are mistaken, they will either cease being mistaken or cease being honest. Yeah. So kudos to Mary Schweitzer for abandoning YEC. Exactly. I mean, that couldn't have said it any better. And this sort of ties into some of my hopes that I have for Will Duffy on this series that he's doing with Erica. I'm waited on bated breath to see how that turns out. Let's see. He said, hey, Grayson, you were easily had the best beatdown of Jim Bob. Thank you, Lord Devilfish. Yeah, that, like, his questions are really weird. And so a lot of people that have discussions with him are not, like, thinking that he's going to ask them about how penises evolved or something. But if you, like, I don't know. It was surprising to me. It's honestly been surprising to me that after I feel like I did a good job explaining to him penis evolution or how sex evolved or all of his little stupid troll type questions or his llama question about evolution. Like, I feel like I did a good job explaining to him and communicating the science behind how these various things evolved. And then it's been really disappointing to me to hear Jim Bob going to all these subsequent evolution debates that he's done and asking the same dumb questions that I already answered during our debate. It's like, was he not paying attention? Probably. Or maybe he just forgot what I explained to him. But I answered all his questions, and yet he continues to ask them probably disingenuously in all of his subsequent evolution debates. So that was disappointing. Lord Devilfish also says that the irony is that recent protein analysis of dinosaur collagen places them closer to birds genetically. Yeah, it's funny how one of the theories, it's funny how evolution keeps coming up with all of these tested and verified predictions beforehand that the evidence later on validates, and how creationism just keeps getting its own rear end handed to it every time that there's new evidence that comes out. And all they can really do is lie about the current state of the evidence, like we just saw. And I am back, guilty as charged, and I'm glad to be back. Again, incredible stream. I'm feeling the love from everybody. I'm so happy. Svei, you were here from the very beginning. You were here for the whole stream. I love you. Yeah, and they were also the ones that pointed out and asked about QT45. They're awesome. You're awesome, man. And then Cheetah said, I'm all for dunking on pseudoscientific trash. Well, then this is the channel for you. I plan to do some debunking of pseudoscientific trash. It's one of my favorite pastimes. Thank you, Science Nerd 7639 for the $1 super chat. You're awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Soft tissue in dinosaurs and pliosaurs would be cool to fight off the YEC and see how the dino deniers scramble. Yeah, I like the scramble verb after they said, oh, those 5 atheists are scrambling with these 5 scientific discoveries that we've just been totally lying about. CZM says, thank you. I'd like to hear more about admixture with other hominins caused by successive ice ages, bottlenecks in the movement of us out of Africa. Yeah. Especially with David Reich's lab, with like the rise of ancient DNA. I mean, this is another one of those fields that has been revolutionized over the last decade or so. That's another one that a lot of the ancient DNA studies, especially like the bottlenecks, get really, really fascinating. Just like learning more about the history of humanity in general. Dylan Johnson, the correct guesser of my location, said, thanks, Grayson. Your videos really helped me deconstruct from being a Jehovah's Witness. Wow. That's awesome to hear. That's some of my favorite messages that I get, or like emails from people that like, just on their deconstruction journeys, and like if I can provide any help along the way, that really does, like, those are some of my favorite messages to receive. I literally just before I left the US was at the gas station, and these 2 young, like teenager Jehovah's Witnesses came up to me, and they had never heard about almost anything about evolution or science. And it was just like I talked to them for maybe 30 minutes, and I tried my best to have like a little quick impromptu session because I know that their parents and their church, and they've been hidden from, like, the actual science has been hidden from them. They have never heard about so much, and they had so many misunderstandings that I don't know. I think about those guys sometimes, and I hope that, you know, maybe they learned a little bit that day, and maybe they were, you know, they said that they were going to look up some of these terms and they were going to do some more reading about it, and it was encouraging to talk to them. So I hope that, you know, maybe I don't know. I hope that as they grow up and their frontal cortex is developed more and they start to get away from their yoke of their, you know, their childhoods, that they start to be exposed to the information that's out there, the evidence, and they can sort of weigh it to sort of, you know, help them see what the evidence is really showing. Because it's clear that the only way that you can really be a creationist is either through ignorance or lies, to be honest. So I said, have you seen Jim Bob's debate with Professor Dave? It was pretty incredible, but yeah, his questions have been answered as many times as Kent. Yeah, I haven't yet, actually. Maybe I should. Professor Dave definitely brings the heat, and Jim Bob is one of those people that, you know, needs to have the heat brought to him sometimes. Dylan Johnson said, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we were told to leave class when we were taught evolution in school. Yeah, that's the only way that you can sort of maintain some of these beliefs, is just to protect yourself from being exposed to the evidence. Because once you see the evidence, I mean, it's pretty hard for a rational person to just dismiss evidence that is going against their belief. Like, as long as they're intellectually honest. So kudos to you, honestly, because I did not have like the experience of like growing up with this crap and like having like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what my life would be like if I had grown up as a creationist. I like to think that I would have shed those creationist views early on, but I don't know because I wasn't raised in that. So I know a lot of people in this space used to be creationist, and they've gone through that journey, and they had their own, like, you know, experience seeing the evidence and then saying, hey, it sure looks like the things that I believe are not supported by the facts. So yeah, I don't know what that's like, but my respect to you for going through that and coming out the other end. Cesium says, I didn't know that people didn't know about evolution or the age of the universe. I have one friend who is a flat earther. Yeah, that is, I don't have any friends that are flat earthers, but I've obviously had a lot of discussions with them, and that's its own brand. Like, the flat earthers are even to the point where like the creationists will scoff at, oh, those silly flat earthers. It's like, dude, you're not much better, to be honest. I mean, they're both almost have to be equal degrees of science deniers in my book. And Cheetah says that true salvation is abandoning unfounded beliefs. I think that this is the perfect message, honestly, to end the stream with. True salvation is abandoning unfounded beliefs. That, like, put that on a tattoo. Like, that's the motto right there. That is a really, really eloquently expressed, Cheetah. So yeah, on that note, I think that's the perfect note to end this stream on. I answered as many questions as I could. I tried to talk about all of my favorite new scientific discoveries from the last year that I missed. And then we ended it out by looking at the creationist discoveries and having a good laugh at that. So I think that this was a great stream, a great welcome back. I felt the love from everybody. It's been so good to be back. I've missed all of you. And I'm just so grateful to all of the people that have subscribed. Like, 8,000 is incredible. I cannot wait to continue growing the channel, to continue science communication, debates. I hope that PMARS emailed me and we can set up that debate so that I can get that out to you guys. And I'm excited for everything that the next year has in store. And I'm just so grateful for you all for being along this journey with me. So with that, I hope that you all have a great, great night. And yeah, I'm going to end it with what she said. True salvation is in abandoning unfounded beliefs. And with that, I wish you all the best along that journey. And let's all hope that we can abandon as many unfounded beliefs as we possibly have. I'm always trying to be more right and less wrong. And that is all that we can do. So with that, good night, everybody.